Hey, 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 ladies and gentlemen, I'm Pronogo, and joining me as usual is Iskatumesk, and we have some more Tyrant's Tale to tell. Oh shit, that was four threes. I mean T's. But hey, Mesk, what's going on, dude?
I just woke up not that long ago, and it seems like a good way to start the day. I ate a single pudding, and I have some coffee. That's the real man's breakfast here at what is it now? 3:40. It's almost 4:20 p.m.
Hmm.
Mm-mm-mm.
Which is almost three. Now, I will point out, there are some pretty exciting games here. We start things off with some PvT, which actually, thinking about it, we haven't seen that much. The last PvT we saw was Hamster versus Neblime, and that one ended pretty one-sidedly in favor of Neblime, who is actually going to be playing in the set that we cast later today. But we start things off with Arbuz versus Mystery Meat. And if you ask me, this is actually kind of like a quiet banger. It's like one that I wouldn't have expected to happen for whatever reason. Like I think of like the old school grudge match rivalries. You know, I think about Mystery Meat versus Neblime. I think about Neblime versus the Shambler, which is our secondary match. I think about Hit 'em Up versus Shambler, which is a new school grudge match. I don't necessarily think like, oh yeah, of course. Then when Arbuz and Mystery Meat face off against each other, like that for whatever reason didn't really, conclude or compute in my head. But this looks like it'll be a really cool PvT match, in my opinion. So it's just something that I'm pretty interested in. And I know, Mesk, you're somewhat familiar with Arbuz's playstyle, at least in PvP. So what are you thinking about him versus Mist?
Well, Meat definitely looked a little weak going up against Ramen. So maybe he's not quite fully in form yet, or maybe Ramen has just been able to put in that much time he's managed to beat his meat. That leaves us with Arbuz, who has also been grinding out a lot of games, but as far as I'm aware, most of them are up against Neblime. I think he may have been playing against Shopkeeper Dog and some other fellows, but Meat may be a different kind of opponent for him. And this is where I think, like I mentioned last time, we could see something cheeky. We could see some cheese. Because I noticed, especially against Neblime, that the most dastardly thing Neblime will do against him is like quad gate, or in some maps, pentagates, which that'll definitely get you to StarCraft 2 Masters, no problem if you manage to unlock your Ultra Instinct and build the 5th gate. And that early aggression had kind of mixed results. So Arbuz was kind of prepared to deal with that in PvP. But now when we enter PvT, we enter the realm where Mystery Meat is known for being kind of a cunt sometimes. But now when we look at the tools he used to be a cunt, they have been brought down a little bit. The Achmed building roasting is no longer such a thing anymore, and the Anchor is a little bit more expensive than it used to be, so going for those early floats into the resource line isn't really as easy to do anymore, which is probably a good thing. But we still see stuff like the Wraiths and stuff like that, and we can see that some of these players do come apart a little bit when you end up opening up multiple fronts and taking advantage of lax defenses and otherwise being a bit of a pest. There was one particular game with Neblime versus Arbuz in that 2-hour set I did where Neblime ended up building a bunch of Gladiuses, and he ended up going into Arbuz's main base and tickling him. Now, at the time, Arbuz's entire mineral line was completely undefended except for like one warden. Neblime could have walked in there and swept up all the workers and probably caused a GG within short order, but for whatever reason, he hung out above the production, killing pylons and stuff like that, and then started focusing on an Argosy.
Yes.
Well, Gladiuses don't kill buildings very quickly.
Yep.
But Arbuz didn't really respond to this very well. Eventually, some Empyreans came out, and he was able to kill off and fend off the remaining Gladiuses, but eventually they came back, and when they came back, there was no defense built there. There was no engrams built there. He was kind of very lackadaisical about dealing with this aggression. It wasn't like a backdoor or anything. It was coming down one of those vertical spawns. He just kind of like flew down and started attacking his production. And I feel like Meat's one of those players who's going to see these openings more often, is more inclined to deal with them just because of, the history of dealing with the Wraith harassment and stuff like that on his own. I feel like there's definitely a lot of potential for Arbuz to explore the cuntitude of certain playstyles in this that have not been thrust upon him in previous matches that much. Maybe he dealt with it when he first started and maybe ran up against some of the lower level players like Biddy B, who, well, he is sometimes so dastardly, he'll even destroy his own matrix.
Gotta watch out for that guy, I gotta tell you. Let's talk maps, okay? because we are starting on Rage Slave, and we've seen this map be kind of aggressive, and it's coded aggressively almost, it feels like. When people walk in, they just get that rage going, and they become a slave to it. It's almost like that was the point of the map name or something. And this worked marvelously, I gotta say. Everybody just goes super aggro. Now, going into map 2, this one selected by Mystery Meat, as he was the lower seed for this match, he selected Cold Sweat. So we've got some, pretty, I would say, like, generally, like Cold Sweat's kind of like a generic macro map almost. Like, there are some differences about how it's handled for its fourth base compared to some of the other bases, other maps, and it also has those corner things, oddities with the Crucible and the Hatrosk, but for the most part, it's like a fairly open-ended macro map. Like, when you're in that situation, you can kind of play it out however you want. I think Zerg might struggle in the mid-game, but other than that, it's a fairly all-around map. It's kind of like Oblivion in that way, although Oblivion would be even more so. Oblivion, actually, curiously enough, it is going to be our decider if we get there. But going into map 3, which is the only guaranteed one that we have in this set, it will be Impetus. So we're starting things off with, like, a 3-spawn map, admittedly, in Rage Slave, but it's one of those more aggressively coded ones. Then we've got some 2-spawn maps that are more known for macro games in Cold Sweat and especially Impetus. And our 4th map, if we need it, is Paradise, which is a 4-spawn map. It's actually the only 4-spawn map available in play, because the other maps, Blackwater Bastion and Maxium, were both banned by our competitors. So I just find it interesting that they almost like want that low spawn map count kind of thing going into this set. And starting off on Rage Slave, I do think that there's going to be some more aggro stuff, which, kind of to your points earlier about what did you call it? Mystery meets cuntitude or cuntability or something. Yes. Like that's the kind of thing that he can absolutely start playing it out in a more aggressively toned opener. And I fully expect something like that to start things off. So, you ready to see what they got in store for us?
Yes, let's beat our meat.
Let's
together.
Beat that meat into a watermelon, because that's exactly what ArbuzBudesh's name means. If you didn't know, it's "Do you want a watermelon?" And Mystery Meat does want it. He is the Zinwaldite Brown in the mid-right of Rage Slave, and hell yeah, I'm right on that one.
How do you guess a weird-ass name?
That's the only brown I ever see, so it's kind of the cheat. But ArbuzBudesh down here in the bottom left, and so we meet again. He is the... Shit, this isn't Cyan. This is... I really have no guesses for this one. I'm going to guess Eggshell Blue. Oh, but it was Alice Blue. Okay, well...
Annihilated.
I was expecting to lose that one. At least I got the Zinwaldite Brown. Remember that one time where it was Saddle Brown and I had no fucking clue what that color even was? That's me. Most of the times I cannot guess those ones at all, but you know what? We got this one here. Mr. Meat is harvesting a...
Bobway Brown.
True. That's another Z. That would work.
Well, it's Stockade first.
Yes.
Well...
Both players scouting the close spawns as well. So this is the close spawn configuration for Rage Slave, guys. It might not look like it because, like they're on the opposite left-right side, but the way that the pathways kind of work, in order to get to each other in vertical spawns, it is just farther away. So this is probably going to be a bloody game if I had to speculate.
He used a measuring tape.
That's right.
He knows.
That's right.
Well, I don't think Arbuz is really going to change anything with his build orders. He's a pretty standard. You definitely call him a very standard player. I don't think I've ever seen him do anything. The closest I've seen to Cheese is a semi-late to Cantor, where he will get some defenses, Hierophants and stuff, and then go for the Cantor. And it does take a while to get, so it's not really that early. It's not like a super rush. So I haven't ever seen him like proxy, anything dastardly like that, and I think I've seen Neblime do that at least once. There's some tickling.
Yeah, the Mason was trying to steal that Vespine, dude. Here it comes. Oh, he's trying to harass the workers.
Running in and tickling his booty. This is what you got to do to upset the standard players. Is you got to run in and you got to grab them by the booty. You got to squeeze that booty, clap that booty, shake that booty, roll the booty around, and then you got dough, and then you can make yourself a mince meat pie.
I do feel like ArbuzBudesh has been historically opening Hierophants specifically to protect his booty. He's like...
The Hierophant opening is, it's just what you expect at this point. Every now and then you see him get the Ecclesiast. I think he does that when he specifically wants something a lot more aggro, and he's going to go like Mazealot Ecclesiast, but more commonly we see the Hierophant first, that worker hiding behind the Nat is getting tickled aggressively.
He'll give him a couple back. Get a laugh out of him.
Put his hands on his shoulders, looked him dead in the eye, and said, "You what, mate?" And then he died.
It's like that one British meme where he just goes, "I can't believe you've done this," after he gets slapped by his shoe, which is oddly Latina.
I believe actually the slippers, or maybe they're called chalga or something like that, is the more Latinx. That's the leftoid way of calling Latinas.
Latinx.
The Mexican mom is
yeah.
The weapon of power is the slipper.
That's right.
All come to fear the slipper.
I'll never forget that one video of like a mouse crawling up a wire and then.
Oh yeah, that is
slipper
such
just
a good video.
Pinpoint bullseyes.
Slipper
it.
just pegs it in the head.
And it's over.
It was great.
Workers
That's
are
skills
exactly.
you earn over decades of training.
Yes, I agree.
Bush is lucky he did not encounter someone with those skills in the conference.
It would be over. That would be the
They
most
would not
recent
miss.
political assassination for sure.
Yeah, they would not miss. It's very interesting to see that there is some Cyprians in here. I don't think that Meat wants to go out right away, but he's definitely expecting this Ecclesias-based.
Yeah, he didn't scout the
organization.
third gate come out from Arbuz until he hasn't scouted it at all, so he doesn't really fully know yet. He has gone for a faster vestry, which means that he's sacrificed some production time on his military.
Yeah, he really needs to stay in here because the Protoss's early game pressure is so strong, and obviously if he loses this fight, it's just game over. But Arbuz doesn't want to push that. He gets tickled by the Cyprians. He has flashbacks to when 4 Cyprians could go in an anchor that he didn't plan, and immediately absconds. But you know what he'll do? He'll just wait a little bit, and then he'll try to bust this, although he is getting his expansion in the moment. We can see he's going to make a little arrangement here.
Yeah, I feel like he definitely could have just taken the fight, but, it'll end up being okay for Mystery Meat. The game will go on. He's maybe a little bit uncertain. Obviously wants to cut military production from the gateways for a moment so that he can afford the Nexus, and then he goes back to producing. So the kind of flow here from Arbuz is doing okay to establish some control, and Mr. Meat's going to go ahead and build his treasury for faster expansions, but he's got to uproot the Protoss first. And sure, you can, lift the anchor at first, but he slips the Maverick out. Okay.
Benno makes a little sneak away and goes on a
right.
long, peaceful jog. He's running, just like you were.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. We were supposed to start this like 15 minutes earlier than we did, but I had to go for my run, and I forgot how far away that place was, so that's my excuse. Now it's double
there is
extra
a danger moment
stockade.
here.
Yeah,
This is less defensible than the ramp was. So
no cliff advantage.
I think Arbuz would actually have attacked here if he had eyes on that.
The Shaman deployed means that he can start to pick off any witnesses that come out, but we're a ways off from that actually happening. This stemmed Maverick is about to pop into the natural and see the worker transfer, so I think that Mr. Meat's going to be feeling pretty good about the fact that he was still able to get his worker, his expansion down at the same-ish time. Worker counts are starting to stretch ahead in favor of the Terran, thanks to that quarry. But remember that the Treasury can't make workers, so at this point, with the embassy on the way here for Arbuz, he'll be able to stabilize the worker production count and then go a little bit higher. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so this is exactly what Mystery Meat did against Neblime, more or less. But can he survive before the Eidolons actually come out? The Hurricanes are really important here because they rend the armor, and then the Cyprians can penetrate the front line. But they are starting to fall. That last Hurricane staying alive for a heroic amount of extra time before it's finally brought down. But I think it's still just too much DPS here for Arbuz.
Yeah. Yeah, remember, the Ecclesias do have an armor penetration, so they were able to force down the anchor. And at that point, even though it took so long to finish off that last Zealot, that he just wasn't able to get damage on the backline at all. And there's just so much raw stats in that backline that I think at this point needs some deep shit. These Eidolons are going to have to be with saves.
Oh no, the attack rate increased. With the Eidolons about to pop out from that stockade, to me, it actually kind of feels, Mesk, like Mystery Meat could have held there. Even though he would have taken some damage, he was
going to be so behind. He
was dead even on workers after all the kills, and so obviously he would have been a little bit further down after the battle's resolved. But there was a chance there for him to come back from a deficit. I thought maybe that was a slight premature GG, but either way, it does mean that ArbuzBudesh will take our first match. And we said it would probably be pretty quick, pretty bloody, as Rage Slave tends to be, and so far our predictions are on point.
Yeah. I was thinking maybe if he rallied the Eidolons on the back so that they were behind and he couldn't easily surround them, he might be able to get some kills in. But there's 5-6 Ecclesia sustaining off of the workers. So they're not going to go down very quick, and he's going to keep losing workers in that process. So there was a little bit of push and pull there, but I think Meat was going to be too behind at that point to really call it, because there was going to be more reinforcements coming, and meanwhile that expansion for Arbuz is already mining, and the Meat has already been beat once. Can he go for a second pump?
That's the question that's on everybody's mind, Mesk, and we're going to cold sweat, so it's going to be challenging. Very, very challenging conditions with which to beat your Meat. But here we are with ArbuzBudesh in the top left, fresh from his victory on Rage Slave. He is the Emerald? Midnight Green. Fuck. Protoss on the top left. And Mystery Meat down here in the bottom right. This is a color I have no idea is. It's not Zinwaldite Brown. It is not Chestnut. It is... yeah, not Redwood. It is Mahogany? Auburn. God damn it. Well, I'm going to... you know what? I'll come back stronger next time, boys. I'll come back stronger. Yeah, as these color guess attempts get much longer, we are going to... eventually, we're going to get like a minute into the cast, and I'll have only been...
Yeah, you'll just be stuck there, just trapped in like decision paralysis. It'll just get worse the deeper in you go.
That's right. That's right. Well, you know what? That's our second level here. Remember that Tyrant's Tale is a lore event, which means that based on the chronicles of these matches, I'll basically be picking a match to dramatize, either by picking like the best match of a set or trying to like maybe combine them.
I already know which match that's going to be.
What do you think? What do you think?
Shambler versus Hit 'em Up.
Can't do them like
Angry that. Typing.
Shambler's in the chat and everything. You can't. The set would just be like 5 dialogue events, and then the guy leaves, and you win.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to dramatize that over after, like paragraph upon paragraph, describing his typing, like the sweat beating on his face.
Maybe we could.
Fingers getting sticky.
We could take a look at it, and then at the end, like have Shambler deployed as Hit 'em Up's slave, since apparently slavery was being complained about in the set. I feel like that could be something that we do. So Mr. Meat here going for his fast star pad, and it's predictably very far away from his main, so if it does get scouted, it would be a miracle. However, Arbuz has sometimes gone for lattices, although maybe not versus Terran. Maybe not at the time that the set was played.
If he feels like he needs to scout early on, then he will go to lattice, but...
he's getting some free money from his scout earlier.
Like, just so ahead military-wise in that first game that it's kind of... he may just feel like he doesn't need to at this point. Sometimes you might see, like, if it's going to be early aggro to you, you might see them get the lattice, but they take the manifold first. But I don't think you really need that against Terran, because you're not dealing with a wall of zealots that have 3 armor.
Tickle. Yeah, get him.
And the first Wraith is on the way.
Second gateway is nearly complete here for Arbuz, and second star pad is about a quarter of the way complete, which tells me, Mesk, that, okay, 3 gate. Is it? Yeah, okay.
That's nice. 3.
That's 3. Wraith coming out as well. So.
Yeah, I think Arbuz is just going to do the same. He's definitely in a position where he can just do the same thing and not really have to divert his build. He was pretty confident in that first game. So in a longer map, it may not work as well. But, I mean, he was idle in front of the base for a long time, so the map distance wasn't really a big issue. But it's definitely indicative that the confidence in that build, he can probably just do it every game and just flex whatever he does after it if something happens. But it's pretty much in Mystery Meat's court to try to change things up from that. And at this stage, he's going to be building Wraiths, which, while they could definitely do damage, it's a little bit riskier against Protoss than it is against other Terrans, because if Arbuz really starts to get heckled by these, he can just start making more Hierophants. And that's going to let him constantly pick off Wraiths as they come in. Then
Hierophant Draken off of 3 gates. And that dances with the bio ground army too, so...
yeah.
It's only really when I think like the Phalanxes start to come out alongside the Wraiths that you could see some trouble, and we know that Mystery Meat likes to play that style, albeit in the mirror as opposed to in, TVP. But
there's definitely heavier aggression coming out of this, because you see the Ecclesias. There's none here.
I like the slow rally of individual workers all the way down to that bottom left area. The Wraiths might actually catch them, but instead they're narrowly about avoiding crossing paths with these Dracodons that are also being rallied down. This actually could be pretty bad. The Wraiths have
worker harass.
Yeah, there's actually no cover for the workers, and unfortunately for Mystery Meat, he's chasing these Wraiths, which is giving time for Arbuz to react. If he had waited a little bit longer instead, I think this this sudden Wraith strike would have been a lot more sudden, for one. If he's an enterprising individual, he can try to pick off some of these workers still, but he ends up getting away with all of his Wraiths intact, only with 3 worker kills to his name.
He only forced out a pylon and a warden in the resource line. What it does help is it kind of diverts some of these reinforcements away from the front
look,
line
he also
here,
found it. 2 Wraiths reinforcing in the bottom left. They peel off to clear that area out, and so all of the extra workers are basically down the toilet there for Arbuz. Maybe he was a bit too
he got
obvious.
a little bit of mining out of them, but not a lot.
Yeah. He's going to have another worker that gets cleaned up as well, I think.
Arbuz took a little poke at that ramp there, but as we can see, it has amassed a number of Benos, and there's 2 Cyprians there. So the timing window to bust that early on with just Draconins is starting to pass. And again, a lot of his reinforcements went back to deal with the Wraiths. So there was some timing, E-hand timing on behalf of Meat there, but we can see the Herfet's already going to pick up. Oh, never mind.
Quite. He wasn't paying attention to it, didn't capitalize on it. Yeah, the Wraith count's actually up to 10, and if the Vestry comes out for a Shaman at any point here, I know that's a lot of gas to start putting into this Wraith stack at this point, but I'd say it's working out okay so far. He's obviously forced out the Warden, Nexus coming up.
Second Anchor.
Embassy as well. Okay, so Arbuz realizing he needs to go for the Witness to protect. Vestry coming in here as well.
He's going to turtle up a little bit right here. He's going to take his expansion, knows his opponent's contained. Meat at this point really wants to open this up, so he's trying to trade with the Draconins, and, well, he's going to kill a couple. It's going to be quite costly.
Yes, it is. He picks the Hierophant immediately. That would have been a great opportunity to just dive back, but I don't know. I wonder if he clicked on it first to see how low it was. If he didn't, he might have been like, what the hell? I killed it in 1 hit, and then my Wraiths are overpowered. Oh, wait, never mind. It was already just wounded.
Yeah, he may not have expected to see so many Draconins there. Yeah. He may have thought Arbuz brought some of them back or kept the ones that were there back in his base, but not once the Warden was finished, he pulled them back. So at this stage, you can see his mindset. He's like, okay, well, if they're all in front of my base, I may as well go take a peek at your base and see what's going on over there. But we got 3 Draconins, and then that he hypothetically can try to trade with those, but a lot of his Wraiths are wounded, so he probably doesn't really want to. In the main, there's still 2 Draconins, now 3. There's 1 just finished, and there's still Wardens, so it's still not really favorable conditions. But
yeah, he can try to do this trade, and he will be able to pick off a lot of these Draconins. But remember, the 2 armor really helping Protoss here. And as the Warden finishes, this is no longer really a tenable position, especially when reinforcement Draconins can just clear up the Wraiths. So, you know, trading 3 Wraiths for 3
really
Draconins.
Wants to peel that army off of his neck.
Yeah. And that does make sense. He also gets a nice check on how many workers are there, which is 1. He did, obviously, we know there's 1 mining down the minerals in the bottom left, but not super consequential. I mean, the Ministry's almost done. That's going to be more workers for Mist once he actually clears out these Draconins. Crucially, he has not gone for the extra Fulcrum. Instead, he's added a 3rd star pad. So that is a little bit of a difference here in the build order, the way that he's doing. He's actually committing further to the Wraiths. Versus Protoss, it is very valid to go for 2-3 Ancials. And they keep up with the Wraiths just fine. They shield all of the burst damage that Protoss can do and allow you to really heavily win some of those engagements. A lot easier, I think, especially versus the Warden. And now that they protect against the Engram splash, they're definitely pretty good. They do force a more dedicated counter. So that's something Mystery Meat can definitely think about if he wants to get ahead a little bit further in this game. But, you know, so far he's keeping even with the workers. He's got equivalent worker production queues. Well, I say that, but I look back at his main. He has no embassy, or no quarry, rather. So actually, that's not true. Arbuz can outproduce him in workers. But right now, the embassy's busy with the Witness.
Yeah, he also didn't make any lattices, so there's no, like, idols to deal with. So it's just raw Draconins at the moment. As the Wraiths start reaching really high numbers, you can try to trade with them a little bit. Yeah. Because you'll get a lot of damage in one spot, but he's not at that Wraith count yet, so you can see that the trades are not amazingly in favor with him, even though not a lot of units are over here compared to what's at the main.
Well, making 3 of them at a pop, eventually you are going to get up to that level where you can basically, I think it's like 22 or 23 Wraiths to one-shot a Draconin, so that sounds like a ridiculous number, but you can do that. That's something that is within it. Yeah, he's already got, 13, so. 14, actually, is one above his 2 Fulcrums that he's making. So we are going to see that transition into the Phalanxes, most likely. I do like the Scouting Maverick out in the top right. Witness here to help reveal the Wraiths. If that Shaman gets deployed, we can eventually see that happen. No, let's see. I'm not sure he's figured it out yet. Dracon's thinking about moving forward.
Does not fly into the Shaman.
Yes, very surprising. All right, here comes the biggest skirmish so far. And, you know, the bio tying up a lot of those Drakodins a little bit further up north are allowing the Wraiths to take a much more favorable engagement onto those Drakodins in the south. This monocomp army here for Arbuz is not really doing him any favors right this moment.
Yeah, the fact they all spread out into a line meant he couldn't put much damage onto the Wraiths, and they traded very, very favorably at that point. He didn't manage to kill the Witness, but the Witness is retreating back home with the remaining Drakodins. And the Wraith stack continues to grow. 3 Ancials in production, Mesk, as well as the first Palladium coming up. I'm looking like this is looking like a missed victory so far. We will need to see a compositional change for Arbuz if he wants to keep up any sort of aggression, and if he wants to hold this Nexus. I mean, he's going to need some kind of like different military. Sure, he's got an engram in each base, third base on the way. Wraiths are going to once again clear this worker in the bottom left, and we don't see any other production just yet. He didn't quite go into there, so he didn't see the one worker. He's got a one Ahmed chasing around the Wraiths as best as he can.
He's got a second one as well. There's a duo.
Oh, yeah, there is a second one over there. The Ahmed brothers, Ahmed and Ahmed.
Okay, so this is a quarryless build here for Mystery Meat as he deploys his third Ministry, pretending like that and the Treasury do not exist just yet. Okay, Stargate makes sense. Go for a couple land effects. You can shut down the Wraith blob. The Ancials kind of reveal the play here for Arbuz. Seeing those is definitely going to be making it obvious. He needs to try to engage this, but, you know, you're talking about 16 Wraiths already. The one Hurakan has already died. Another one is on the way. He'll tank a couple of shots.
He's just chilling out there.
He's just like, yeah, whatever. On top of that, the Witness did die, so that is actually a pretty big scalp to take there for Mystery Meat. Now he's going to start chancing it around over here. Remember that engram, the splash damage is going to be absorbed by the Ancial, but it's still pretty good. It's still pretty good. Now the Stargate's getting heckled.
It's a lot of overlapping damage. You're taking more damage, all the Wraiths into one spot. So
it cancels the first Stargate. He might have to cancel the second one if he's not careful here. Drakodin's having a hard time getting up the ramp. Yeah, I think he's gonna get it. Okay, both Stargates canceled. That's a big victory for Mystery Meat, especially since Arbuz is now going to continue tearing his hair out trying to deal with these Wraiths as they fly back over to the third. But that's not really the main threat, right? We've got multiple.
Canceled.
Oh no. We've got multiple phalanxes in production right now as Grand Libraries start to come out here for Arbuz. He's basically got to sack this third base, I think. I mean, he can try to keep going back and forth, but remember, the Wraiths...
I think he can sit and hold it, but he will want to build some defenses in his main. The Wraiths are going to have to go back to heal at this point and reinforce. And more Ahmeds are en route.
Okay, sure.
They're heading off,
Sacrifice.
Along with the Cyprian.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why they're going off. Nope. Okay. Here we go. I think he wants to fight that army. He wants to pull them into that. He didn't repair, though. So, oh, no, the Cyprian.
He's drawing them in. Baiting them in. Hook, line, and sinker. Here are the phalanxes, 3 of them. One of them is about to get shellacked, I think, from the top there. But Drakodins can try to close the distance. Hurakans are doing wonderfully to stop those Drakodins from moving in. And the phalanxes actually stay alive.
Very scrappy little fight, but it takes a lot of Drakodins out of the picture. Now the stability of this expansion is really coming into question.
Well, half the workers aren't even mining minerals, Mess. They got tasked onto the ground next to him or something. Instead, Drakodins are starting to drop like flies, and there are a lot of those flyers, the Wraiths in particular. I don't know what Arbuz still has in production. His land effects got massively delayed. He's going to call GG. Mystery Meat's able to tie up the series by resorting to his ever-trustworthy Wraiths.
The Wraith cheese strikes.
That's a good map for it, too, because you can control the pacing of the corner bases. If, we saw Arbuz actually did want to do that. So it turns out that Mystery Meat had the answer already prepared to tie the series up. And that means we go to Impetus. Again, another macro map.
Honda Pablo.
Yeah, that's Smarty Cakes. Homie Cakes.
Amigo.
Honda Pablo versus Toyota Miguel. That must be why he named himself that, because it's the same fucking... Same idea. All right, well, on Impetus, this is another map that you could go Wraiths on, but is Mystery Meat going to try to do the same thing twice? I think he got a little bit lucky with the timing of the Wraith push to stab out the Stargates before they could actually get up online. And it also may be a little bit lucky that Arbuz decided not to change his composition until rather late in the game. He only made the one Witness, as far as I know, so he didn't actually see the Phalanxes following up, which means... Obviously, he didn't have the reaction to them. He had a couple of Zealots, but the Grand Library would have been a great choice to stop the Phalanxes from getting too far. I think even, to some degree, Psionic Storm could have helped with the Wraiths, but most likely you just get picked off. I still think Wraiths versus, Cantavis Psystorm versus the Phalanxes, though, really does stop them from being able to actually deploy. They'll just take too much damage.
Well, I think that maybe just having built a couple additional Hierophants would have helped a lot. Just to, every time they come in the trade or do something, at least he can get a couple kills in. And maybe even pick off the Anseals. There were so many that were so low, but he just wasn't able to really chase them around. So, yeah, that's kind of what I was mentioning before is once this starts happening, it's like, what is the response? Well, he was going to go double Stargate, but the Stargates are kind of exposed. So now he's just got landlocked Draconins trying to run around this huge curve. And it just takes him too long to do that. So, and then he lost the engram and the cannon and a bunch of other stuff without being able to cancel them. And that sent him even further behind because that's money that just kind of evaporated on top of having to cancel the Stargates. Then he's just stuck with, okay, now what do I do? He can't even make idols at that point. And he doesn't really have too much else other than to try to build more defenses. But engrams do take a while to warp in. So while this is already happening, it's not really a solution to build engrams at the expansion. And yeah, the little scrappy fight with a handful of Achmeds, a single Cyprian, and some tanks. He didn't even pull in all the Mavericks he had into this.
Yeah.
It was just this little tiny force. But they got hung up with the Anseals, the Achmeds, and everything like that. Shredding some armor on the front, and it was just this little 1-2-1-2 that just thinned out the Draconins until Meat could go and pincer that base. And yeah, it was interesting to see that timing attack from Meat come out. It looked very cobbled together. There was just a handful of units, but it did work out.
Yeah, it's kind of cool that he was able to protect the Phalanxes with the stray Hurricanes that he just sort of threw out there. The Cyprian accidentally provoking the attack. A lot of that seemed hard to replicate in the lab, but still a pretty cool timing. We'll see if anything like that happens on Impetus, our third map. And as we get into our third map, I just want to tell you guys about the pickup partner. Yeah, that's right, we're sponsored around these parts, and the pickup partner has a sign in the game. And also they probably have a sign in real life, I don't know. But it's Ben Taberski's moving company. He's a pretty cool guy. We got another cool guy here, Mystery Meat in the bottom left as our green Terran. ArbuzBudesh in our top right as the Alice Blue. Wait, is this Alice Blue? No, this
fucking
is
annihilated.
This is Glacial. Oh fuck, it was Arrow. Well,
annihilated twice. You just took 2 L's from one guess.
Well, I didn't actually check the tooltip. So the first time. So I was like, wait, that's not Alice Blue because the color on the Nexus is different. Anyway, ArbuzBudesh in the top right. He's Protoss. Fuck the color hero. So, yeah. Anyway, if you need to move on the eastern seaboard, call Ben. Call Ben up.
I think Arbuz is going to be more careful about scouting this time. You might actually see the Lattice show up this time to get that early Vassal. Because Mystery Me is going to do pretty much the same thing here. Go into the Stockade, build some Mavericks.
Right.
It could be either build at that point, according to the early scout. He won't know unless he checks it. And going for a Witness first is kind of expensive, although we have seen it. But I feel like there's a higher chance we start seeing the Lattice at this point. Unless he feels confident enough in the Triad Gate, he's just going to stick to that. But Meat's shown that he can bonk that now. But this map would be a little bit... No, Wraiths could actually be annoying on this map too. There's this very large gap underneath the main that could be used to jump back and forth. So you definitely have to be a little worried about that. So definitely we'll be thinking about the whole scouting procedure. Meanwhile, that Mason is following an extremely autistic path, doing a little back U-turn before going up north.
Yeah, they're doing the same exact pathway. It's funny, isn't it?
This is a very deranged pathing system.
The quarry coming out, but Arbuz didn't scout it, so he's actually not going to know how economically mined it is. Yeah, Cyprian first is...
I think that indicates it's not going to be Wraiths.
Well, he does have a Maverick out first, but the Cyprian so early is an interesting choice. I think it does help bullying the first Hierophant out, especially if you still have like a worker near the front that you can convert into a battle worker.
Yep.
Which reminds me, I really do want to make sure that the Ascozi worker is a battle worker, like a bona fide battle worker. Like they can... I don't know if it'll be like... It's not going to be the militia mechanic from Humans in Warcraft 3, but it'll be something. I promise. Some way to do it.
Okay, but at least they'll come in with like great axes, right?
It reminds me of the Armies of Exego one, you know? Like, blocked by your own gateway, allowing the Mason to get further into the worker line. And now he's giving him a run around. This Hierophant will never make it to the front lines at this rate. Denied the voice line. That was for you, Mesk.
So you just gotta pull from Warhammer and just give him chain access.
I do, as ridiculous as those weapons are, they are kind of cool. Like, Rule of Cool designed the whole fucking setting, basically.
I mean, they're lizards, so you just, like, think about what would Hillary Clinton equip her soldiers with?
Yeah, leaked FBI emails, I think, right?
Triple Cyprian. So, very conscious of the first game where he tried to do bio and it just got ball busted immediately and probably realized this, wait, I don't have enough damage. But he's gonna, I think what he really needed was more Achmed. He needed additional Achmeds to spread more armor shred to keep the piercing up. But Arbuz is moving out a little bit earlier in this game than he did in the first one. He might still be thinking it's something like Wraiths, but he's in for a rude awakening as Achmed is assembling his cigar and preparing for another day of running across the map. And it's a very early vestry here again.
Yep.
So very similar to the first game, just a slight compositional change.
I think with the faster third stockade this time around, Mystery Meat should definitely be able to hold at the same timing if Arbuz uses that. Look at the Warden in the mineral line, you know, redundancy pylon. He's definitely a little bit paranoid about that, not having been able to scout. But now he sees the Cyprian commitment.
All Cyprians.
Yeah,
I think he actually canceled the Warden at this point.
Yep, I would.
And just build like another like gateway or something.
He's gone for a faster Nexus.
Slightly earlier expansion.
Yeah, so he went 2 gate instead of 3, which is the first time he's done that in this set. Definitely, it's cool to see both players doing adaptations. Mystery Meat with a faster Covenant, faster third stockade, so he can get that, faster military production at the cost of his expansion. And then Arbuz actually escalating the expansion as opposed to even trying to bust, so that he can be a little bit more versatile with any sort of worker harassment or plans like that. Some of the the adaptations, like the faster Warden and redundancy pylon, feel a little bit premature to me from Arbuz, but. It's still, it's cool to see the reaction of the players. Yeah, it's cool to see the impact of the Wraith trauma. This one Maverick off to the side is going to be the hero.
Your first Wraith harass, and it's like, I'll never let that get off the ground again.
Just reminds me of,
before you know it, you're 3-Crow building engram first.
Yeah. Man, Lundier is such a legend for doing Warden first, and then Warden second, and then Warden third, and then Warden fourth, and then Embassy, so he can transport them. What a legend. While the first Eidolons hit the deck, we are definitely going to see more add-ons. A Shaman coming out, so that's probably going to be used for anti-detection purposes. Eidolons and the deployed Shaman are really good at sniping witnesses, and Mystery Meat is really good at spotting the Cloak Shimmer. So that's like a nice little marriage made in heaven. But he's going to go ahead and put
it is an embassy coming, so he definitely wants to get that witness first and scout in here. You're not going to bother with the lattice at this point. Still devoting quite a bit to Drakenins now. We're starting to see kind of a similar situation to the second game where he's transitioning out and going in largely Draken because he sees his bio. But...
that could have just been so disastrous for Mystery Meat. He let his Eidolon wander all the way down.
What is this shit?
Yeah, and then Arbuz also second-guessed himself. He's like, wait a sec, I got to pull back. He's moving out. Wait, what? No, he's just one Eidolon. I always go back to that moment where, like, I watched somebody in League of Legends flash into their own tower, and then I kind of sat there for a moment and almost died as a result. And I said, "You bronzed me. You actually broke my brain with that move." And that's not as what Mr. Meat didn't make such a critical mistake there. It was just a casual little oopsie. But I feel like the same kind of dynamic happened there, where Arbuz was intimidated. The aura of Mystery Meat was too damn high.
I don't know. Maybe Mystery Meat intentionally tickled him out just so he could move his expansion down.
Could have been.
Maybe it was 69D chess here.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you can do stuff like that too. It just intentionally tickle people and catch them off. Is what really interesting to see an engram in the middle of Arbuz's base here. Yeah. So he is still alert about. I don't care if you have fucking Eidolons. There's Wraiths coming. I sense it. They're coming. They're in the shadows. They're watching me. Yep. They're both kinds of ghosts.
Yes.
So they must be related.
That's right.
Meanwhile, we have a very Achmed heavy army.
Yep.
Meat is amassing covenants, but it's Achmed.
For now, it's a lot of Hurricanes, and the Vestry actually hasn't made too many healing units. We've got 5 clerics and the 1 shaman, but that should still be enough to keep this game going in favor of Arbuz. He's gonna walk in with his witness. Remember that the shaman is enabled, and of course the witness ends up getting absolutely shellacked.
That booty has been bonked. He avoided getting bonked in the second game by that.
Yeah.
But in this one here, battle is joined as Achmed, the Holy Teutonic Knight.
That's
He's
right.
getting a little hung up at it initially. They're not able to get burns onto the back line, but eventually the front line does die, and Arbuz second guesses his commitment there. But I feel like he could have fought on a little bit.
Yeah, you know, he could have been stutter stepping, especially with the Ecclesiast buff from one of them dying. But
He wants to take this though, and every time this little exchange happens, he ends up taking a little bit off of him. You pretty much have to commit against this one way or another, either by fully retreating or by fully engaging. Because the Eidolons are going to outrange you and punish you every time you do anything.
And then there's healing for any incomplete damage you do as well, right? So if you don't kill a unit, well, that unit's going to be back at full HP.
We have the Penta Sexa Stockade here.
Okay.
This could build more. He could build more Covenants out of them. I mean, we might see that 20, 30-minute tier 2 at this rate.
Yeah, well, there's a second Stargate coming for Arbuz, so he's going to be favoring Exemplar here. Not a bad shout, but you are going to need some kind of ground army to deal with the Eidolons and, you know, tie them up a little bit, or at least reveal them. Could pick that Shaman. No, missed opportunity there for Arbuz.
He didn't really want to commit to it. I think he felt like if he did, he was going to lose a lot, and he might have.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it was kind of like pulling stuff back, but Akhman could have been in a slightly better position to burn them at that stage.
It's expensive. It's very expensive to get the Ardent Authorities in a couple of numbers here, but I think it would be really cool to see Protoss players try to use Servitors. They work kind of like Vassals and Ecclesias, where when they die, they give you that movement speed boost, but they're a lot more durable than the Vassal and a little bit more durable than the Ecclesia. So I wonder if that wouldn't also help you try to like reposition, stutter step, etc.
The Ahmed factory is taking shape.
Oh my goodness.
This is very, very similar to his game against Neblime.
Yeah, this is like that Genesis Y match, you're right. That was the decider,
And
sent Neblime into the lower bracket. Now he's here watching.
Once you get enough Eidolons, like, I don't think the Exemplar are very good against them.
Yeah.
They do have 3 armor, but they do have to get kind of close. And when there's so many Eidolons, anything that gets close is going to be tickled.
Yeah, how attentive is Mr. Meat being? Okay, so far he hasn't picked off the high-value target, but there's only the one Exemplar as well, so splash damage not out of this world.
There's a lot of Draken, so he kind of doesn't want to engage us right away, but...
Well, he's got more Hurricanes coming up, and he will pop that. Yeah, immediately destroyed. The Shaman still staying alive, not being focused. That's something that Arbuz could be working on a little bit better here in these fights.
By the time it died, though, like, Arbuz lost so much damage in his group because so many units had died that he's not able to capitalize on it. Meanwhile, this Maverick is pumping bullets into this pylon. Oh, that Scribe's being shot now.
All right, bopped. First Exemplar was destroyed, but we've got 2 more and a Cantavis. So I do think we are going to see Psionic Storm emerge as a potential counter to this sort of style.
Yeah.
That's assuming Protoss make it deep enough to challenge the
This is a tough map to do that on, though.
Yeah, for sure.
It's so open. Like, you have to catch them onto the bridges to really make this work. So Arbuz might be thinking of being a little bit more defensive right now. There's actually a Panoptus coming.
Okay, interesting.
That's a page out of the Neblime book. He has built Panoptuses before. They are a unit in the game. I know you never see them when you used to see them all the time. The early Panoptuses.
Now they're back to being like scouts.
Yeah.
Atlas coming down. 11 minutes.
He's finally making an Atlas. Why does he need an Atlas? He has Ahmed and Eidolons.
That's right. He needs to add in some Heracles maybe. It does please me to see Heracles being mixed in now. They do have that on-hit slow effect, the same thing that the Claymore has. So.
I mean, they were always good. They did AoE damage. They were just, by the time you hit tier 2, you have like a million other more mobile things you want to make. But they were always pretty good.
I can't wait for Neblime to hear that and type a paragraph at you in Discord.
Well, Neblime is much more of a Cyclops player.
It's true.
And a Seraph player. But no, Heracles were just kind of like, the worst thing about the Heracles is they were in a slightly odd position for the tech tree when you wanted to make them. But they did AoE damage, and the AoE damage is never really that significant against ground units, but I believe they could attack air.
Yep.
And there is times I have seen them blow up stacks of air units.
Well, especially if they're kind of shorter range anyway, like a Muta or something like that.
Specifically against Zerg, it was pretty strong.
Yeah, you could even see Heracles actually surviving Sovroleth sometimes, too, you know, if they were slow moving or something, you could catch him. All right, here's the first opportunity for Storm, but Arbuz has kind of charged into the front line. It's not going to be capitalized upon. The Storm does end up going down.
A lot of damage.
Shaman trying to sort of restore a lot of that, but it's not working out too well for Mystery Meat yet. Instead, he just ends up evacuating. His clerics are busy healing each other. They're not contributing to the fight. A second Storm goes down behind it, but the Harakans have charged forward, and they've essentially eliminated all of the front line there for ArbuzBudesh.
Now the firing squad is up.
Well, they don't have anything else to protect them anymore. Is this going to be enough? I still feel like Mystery Me with a little bit of stutter step micro.
For the trades, but he has no detection, so he doesn't really want to force his way into there. He doesn't end up pulling back. Meanwhile, this lone Ahmed has burned down half the shields on the Nexus.
Yeah. He's also killed a Scribe and a Pylon, so he's a legend.
Arbuz looked over there and is like, what the fuck?
I'm just sending one Drakadin. I love when people do specifically like one unit to respond to one other unit.
Yeah. But then, before you know it, there's a stockade in your base building nothing but Ahmeds. And
dude, that was
before you know it, they've killed thousands of workers and other random things sent over there to deal with them.
I will never forget that Rage Slave game, dude. That was
insane.
I really was hoping that I would go Mystery Meat's way. We could have gone could have gotten a 5-game set out of that. Now, we are going to see a lot of rogue galleries here. I know I got you guys really hyped up because I said are gonna see, and that might sound like Argosy, but no, we do not see that right now. It's just are gonna see.
Not yet. There is an Acantor coming. Also pretty good choice against this.
Yep.
We do have a lot of captaincies on the way.
Yeah, tier 2 on the way here, or in being actuated here for Mystery Meat. I did see the Ardent Authority earlier as the Nexus was going down for the 4th base. If we take a look at the macro here, we do see that the 3rd has been online for a while. The 4th now adding Sentinels over here. Maverick spots the transport, but I don't know that Mystery Meat actually saw it. He'll have an opportunity here, Arbuz, to cancel this base that is in that bottom right position. Or the other base that's in the bottom right position. But yeah, instead he's going to go after the worker line here. There is a single Watchdog, a couple of Harakans and Eidolons are on standby, and by a couple I mean the entire army. One of the Acantor shots goes nicely. He's softening a lot of these up. They're going to start blowing up in higher quantities, and 5 of them going down. All right, 7 kills is not a bad shot. There's an 8th one on the way out, but the Envoy is not able to scoop the unit up in time to save it, so the Acantor will die. It was nice for Iquare to show himself. More of them are being produced, though. Another Envoy, another Acantor. Nexus going down at the roughly 10 o'clock position here for Arbuz. So they're kind of emulating each other's expansion habits so far, but Mystery Meat is going to be ahead in timing because he's got his bottom right coming online, and he's also got a ministry that's nearly complete at 4 o'clock.
There is indeed stacks of Heracles forming here.
There we go. A lot of Madcaps as well.
Extra beef in that front line so that he can stick to those Drakons and so the units don't come over and reveal his dudes. Still going to need to deal with the Storms, though. The Storms are actually what caused him the most headaches in that fight because a lot of his units were standing in them. He didn't manage to snipe any of the Cantavises when they were storming, so... yeah, that's definitely the interaction you want to deal with. Also, he wants to avoid fighting in those choke points so that he can maneuver around, but Arbuz is pretty content to remain defensive at this moment. Which means that if Meat wants to end this anytime soon before he starts looking at mass and Thelians, he's going to need to actually push in. There's another little drop coming here.
Yeah, that's right. The Witness has been revealing it. Now, the Sentinels are on the ground, so it's going to be a little bit hard for the Acantor to find a blind spot for them. And instead it ends up going somewhere else.
Behind it there.
Yeah.
If Meat would have to lift them off, and that gives him plenty of time, it's going to attack here again.
All right. Well, hey, look at that. The 3 o'clock position has been demolished. ArbuzBudesh did have to cancel that, but the Acantor is already back up to 8 kills. The Sentinel not close enough. And the Watchdog is down, so the Envoy can scoop up back afterwards. 10 o'clock was allowed to go up, though, so far it's still going okay here for ArbuzBudesh.
The Acantor is going to kill the Sentinel. There it goes.
Yeah. I could have seen that coming. A couple Madcaps are in here to try to put it out of its misery, but they need to maybe take the engagement a little bit smart.
Yeah,
all right, big army fight.
A couple of these.
Heracles on the front. They got to get nuked down immediately. We got to come a couple of more here. The bridge is going to favor Arbuz for now. If he tries to go across it, it's going to be a bit different, but the Cantavis Storm is doing very nicely to soften up a lot of those Harakans. Remember that with no healing, or minimal healing, there is a 1 Cleric Corpse in the sort of backdrop there. And yeah, a couple of the Madcaps did survive, but a lot of them did end up dying to that Acantor.
Now, Meat could posture over here and take out that left base very, very easily at the moment. And that would give him a little bit better area to engage in. But if he waits too long, this engram will finish, and he could get some damage in. The Acantor did kill like 3 Madcaps before it died.
Yes.
So there was a little bit of damage. That definitely paid for itself. And he does indeed move over here. It was almost like Arbuz wasn't even expecting him to do that, so now he has to kind of come here. Might catch the tail end of this army, but now he's going to put himself back into this ramp again. So.
Mystery Meat has reclaimed some battle workers. And you know what? This army is a little bit awkward from Arbuz. He's engaging the back line with almost no units. Now he's going to try to come across the bridge. But with the Nexus down, there's plenty of room here for Mystery Meat to try to posture and maybe take a really dominating fight. The Exemplar stack coming in from the south. Nice Psionic Storm onto the Apostles. That is going to really heavily put the hurt on all of that healing.
A lot of damage.
But look at the Eidolons. There's so many of them, Mesk. We're talking like 30 of them here, and they are easily going to wipe the floor with those Exemplars now that they have them in their sights.
Although the random reclaimed units didn't get to live very long, they did hang up a lot of Arbuz's damage and keep him in place for a while, allowing the Eidolons to get a lot of damage. And the random Cantavis has been annihilated. That worker that came down there on the ramp has alerted him to the position of this other base, but there is an engram on the ledge here. There's no detection for it, however. But, oh no, they're going to walk into it. Oh, that's a disaster.
Eviscerated, perhaps.
Needs to get some vision onto it, but it is going to die here as its damage does split up a little bit. And this base is also going to be in trouble. That said, Meat's army is starting to get thinned out, and they are kind of moving around here, so more of them are going to die. As these reinforcements come over, they do have an Architect, which can do some pretty high damage. It's just Eidolons and a handful of Aukmen holding the line on the ramp.
Oh my god, there's so many Eidolons, though, and the Shaman's triple Shaman doing their best to help out. There's not really any dedicated splash here. And we do also have a
they're
Terran...
like flipping in and out, so like the Architect is constantly attacking different targets, and there's only the one of them, so its attack speed is not able to hold the line.
And that's it. Look at
Arbuz
that.
calls it.
Well, you know, I gotta say, we did at least see a Terran Nexus starting to get warped in, so that was kind of cool. But yeah, you know, Mystery Meat able to get it right back into a game where he is ready to go. You know, elimination point for Arbuz. I gotta remind people this is an elimination set. And I'll also take this opportunity to thank the man himself for Three Crow for helping us out here on the adminning side, because that is pretty damn cool of him.
Friedman.
Let me just go ahead and update the score for you guys at home. It is indeed a 1-2 in favor of Mystery Meat right now. And you know what that means, guys. It means that we could be saying goodbye to Arbuz here pretty soon, which would set us up nicely. If Neblime beats the Shambler, we could have a rematch of that first quarterfinal on the cards here. So I'm kind of...
Neblime will definitely be thinking about them Eidolons.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, even if, you know, regardless of whether he thinks about him versus Mist, you got to imagine that Hit 'em Up is capable of playing the strategy too, right? Yep. So, like, that's you got to be thinking about the versus Tyrant in general. We've got Mystery Meat and Top Ramen and Hit 'em Up all in the same sort of tournament here as like potential champions, or you know, certainly potential people that Neblime has to fight if he wants to become champion. So, you know, it's some interesting stuff. We go to Paradise for map 4. This one was selected by Mystery Meat, and I'm liking his odds here, but it is a 4-spawn map. So that is going to play a part into how this one goes. I really am thinking, though, right now that Mystery Meat, he's got the momentum for sure. And the Wraith play kind of put Arbuz in a bit of a shook state in the opener. Like he had the Warden, he had the Redundancy Pylon. That doesn't sound like a lot of money, but you know, he didn't charge the ramp when he maybe could have. So it feels like he's still feeling out the matchup. That early game, it was close enough, but as the game went on, it did seem like the composition that Arbuz selected to go. He had a lot of rogue galleries, but pretty much exclusively made vagrants. He didn't have any charlatans; those are pretty gas intensive. And his exemplar stack did end up getting wiped out as soon as the front line started to dissipate. And so that's where the consistent damage of the Madcaps comes in. That's where the fact that Heracles got worked in to supplement the Huracan stacks to make the front line a lot harder to actually chip through. And you know, there's just a couple of things about the way that the armies moved out as well that definitely factored into the way that those last engagements went, where they were pretty effective there for the Terran. And so Mystery Meat now definitely has the advantage going to map 4, Paradise, a 4-spawn map. That's 2 4s, which is not 3. But hey, if we end the game in this game, we'll end it in 4 games, which is 3. Also, it is 4. And we are live. Mystery Meat, once again, the green Terran, this time in the bottom left, which I guess he was also in the last game. And ArbuzBudesh, the Japanese Violet Protoss. Oh, it's Dark Lavender. God damn it. And the top left. So bottom left, top left, we have vertical spawns. This is like a mirrored version of Genesis Y. And yeah, has any map that we've played tournament games on used vertical spawns like Genesis Y, but flipped like this? I don't know. Because I know Megalith Empire was on the right side, and then so was Otherworld, classic map. I don't know. I don't think so. Oh shit, it's Find My MySpace 3 Crow. I was just shouting him out for adminning the game. Thanks, dude. I can't believe you fit all that in one name.
I guess they're talking about having some connection issues or something?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like... I don't see a recording of that in the chat that I saw.
Deputy Dad's on the case.
Deputy Dad is on.
I don't know if you can hear the sirens, but
no.
They were very loud on my end. Absolutely, definitely. But
somehow your microphone filtered it out. Thanks, Discord.
Yeah, the Laotin, the LS208 was a microphone I researched explicitly so I could do casts like this without having a lot of background audio because this place is full of reverb. I am right next to a highway, like I said, sirens, hollers and stuff. It's one of the main arteries.
That's the expensive one, isn't it? Was it fairly expensive?
It costed me $1,100. I bought it for $480 USD.
Oh, okay.
And then I got fucked by Canada. And the shipping and the duty and everything else. Just the duty alone was close to $200. So, yeah. Amazon wouldn't ship it for anything under $100-something.
Great.
So I was like, yeah, let's buy one directly from the manufacturer. It was a little bit of regret, but it is... the quality is definitely the Rode M2 is what I was using before, which is a very, very nice microphone.
Yeah, that's what I have.
Definitely professional studio quality you can get out of that, but not in this environment because they are condensers. But this one I was looking explicitly for something that behaves a little bit like a dynamic, but is still a condenser. And I did a lot of research on this, which is very hard because a lot of people use YouTube for their examples, and it's like you can't tell fucking anything.
It's like 96 kilobytes per second MP3 or whatever.
It's horrible. It's bad. It's worse than MP3, honestly. Opus is just a shit codec, no matter which way you look at it. And so I was looking on websites and getting like actual like uncompressed like WAV and shit. And that it was basically for me. It was like a toss up between the Shure. I can't remember if it was SM58 or something like that.
Yeah, that's a default Joe Rogan podcast microphone that everybody uses.
And the Rodecaster or something like that. And this was the more expensive of the lot, but it was higher quality than all of those in all the tests that I went up against. So, yeah, it does help a little bit, but the reverb in here is still pretty bad for my recording. So, also the quality you get out of Discord is really, really awful. So you don't know that I'm running a setup that costs like $1,600. You don't know that I'm running basically a studio. You wouldn't know between Discord and my acoustics. So. It's not very good, but it does help a little bit. One thing I didn't notice about Meat in this is that he's doing these very same things, even though in the first game he looks like he got absolutely destroyed, is that he has just adjusted his build. Rather than like trying to go into like Fulcrum. Like Meat is consistently not going Fulcrum first in these. We saw Phalanxes in the second game, but it wasn't like he never built them in the third game. He just stuck to that main, like the Harakan eventually into Tier 2. He got Tier 2 a lot faster than he did against Neblime. And that was like an adaptation, I think, because the Neblime game went on for so long. And he knew that he was like kind of losing steam on that. And because his tech was so far behind. So there was like Meat is adapting rather than changing his build completely.
Yeah.
And like in this here, like when you look at this game here, he's adapted again. He's built this Covenant very, very fast before he even started the third stockade.
He has one Harakan out, and he's already making Eidolons. Yep. That's a pretty big change from what happened before. And I
his
wonder...
composition's different, too. Like,
I wonder if
like
it's because...
4 Cyprians, 1 Maverick or something, right?
Right, yeah.
So I think he was expecting Arbuz to do very heavy aggression in this game to try to kill him before he can gain a lot, because Arbuz can be pretty aggressive, especially against, like, in the blind matches. Arbuz will often like do exactly what he's doing here. Neblime will do the same thing. This interaction happens with them constantly. And I feel like the first game was kind of like Meat got shook by that interaction. But now you can see how he's changing his build. he knows that this composition works and that Arbuz is struggling against it. So now he makes the tempo even faster at a slight risk because he knows that Arbuz doesn't want to commit right away to a very, very early, like 4 Dracodon or 4 Hierophant attack. He knows that Arbuz wants to wait at least like 5, 6, 7 minutes before he does his push. So that means he feels more confident to go what is a very, very greedy opener here.
Yeah, it's also, you got to factor in that in the last game on Impetus, Arbuz went 2-gate expand. This time he's actually gone for even more heavy on terms of macro with the faster embassy after the expand. But if Mystery Meat thinks it's 2-gate instead of 3-gate, he can conceivably hold with less as well. So, yeah, he was able to get all the add-ons at the same time. He's instantly starting to saturate his Vespian with the expansion. Treasury's coming on down. And, they're going to have relatively similar expansion timings. Mystery Meat does have his quarry.
I think he saw that worker immediately. Or not the worker, the witness. Because the witness is fairly early. I saw his camera following it, so he knows it's there.
Interesting. Okay. Well, he did not make a Shaman. So that's in production now. So that's going to be his only gas detection here.
So Arbuz sees what he's got. He's like, okay, you don't have detection. I can aggro this. Yeah. There's definitely a window for him to do some damage here because basically Meat has to engage him, but he's going to be revealed in the process. But there is still a lot of potential damage. I like the little wiggle here. He forms a little line.
Yes. He's trying to hug the back of the treasury and see if he can do some pot shots.
Decides to go in for the engage, but Meat does a little pullback here, trying to draw him in to get as much damage in before the Dracodons are able to really pick him off. And that little trade is enough to force Arbuz back. Now the Shaman is out, and Arbuz is going to have to watch this witness because he's going to witness a fucking travesty if he flies into that.
Well, the Cyprians themselves did a lot of damage to the witness. It's only like 3 shots away from death, so 3 Cyprian shots, that is. So could have been a lot worse, actually. He could have lost it in the middle of that engagement. Faster Ardent. So Arbuz is also adapting. He's also looking to take his 3rd base. And that's after doing a little bit of economic damage and slowing the worker transfers ever so slightly by Mist. If he was thinking about adding a quarry, he's got to watch out because obviously he's been producing a lot of military. So
is he going to go for another Cantor drop? Because I feel like when you got Mist super defensive like this and there isn't as many bases, it's not going to be that effective. But he could go to bring it with his army and then use it to force Meat to pull back instead. I don't know. He's doing something here. Something a little bit different. He could try Architects again, but he's going to need a number of them to trade effectively with this. We saw that one is definitely nowhere near enough.
I do think he needs a second Ardent if he's going to do that. And look at that. Just as I say that, he is going to go ahead and pop it down. The Witness here has been allowed.
Is on the card.
What was that?
It's very possible that Mass Architects is in his card.
Oh, yeah, I think so, too. And the Witness is also, like, it's actually spying on the production here. Somehow, it slipped the net. Mystery Meat normally so good at spotting for that. So now
he's keeping it still for long periods of time, which is really helping. It did die.
I just heard it die. So, yeah, okay, it's gone. It's hit the deck. And we've got the sort of watchdog spotting for that drop. So Mystery Meat obviously already thinking about those Cantors.
Is on the way.
But, yep, it is Architects. Okay, so the splash radius is not really going to be in the cards here for Arbuz, but with that multi-attack that the Architects fire, as long as they have enough range, they split off and do 3 times the damage instead of 1x the damage. So definitely a good option. It feels like this Nexus at the 3rd maybe came later than Arbuz initially wanted to. It's almost like he delayed that in favor of getting the Ardents up faster. So I do think that's a pretty big change in his mindset. It
takes so long to build him, and you need a lot of them. So at this point, he sees that the push is coming. He needs to get his army ready.
Yes, absolutely.
Because as we saw in the last game, once this picks up momentum, Meat will start expanding all over the place. We're already seeing the Ahmed spread and a single Mason heading off into the Abyss, maybe to make a secret base somewhere. But yeah, absolutely. You need the Architects as fast as possible if you're going to do this. So a little bit of cutting there. And as a result, Arbuz has some money floating here that he might think about either dropping more gateways, more rogue galleries. I feel like the Vagrants didn't really help that. They helped a little bit, but you need like so many of them to be able to stand against this. I feel like maybe Amaranths, maybe just Raw Zealot, just saving your gas for the tech, because you really want tech to deal with this. So if you're gonna, can't remember. I think rogue galleries must be cheaper now than they used to be, because before they were really quite expensive.
150 and 75, so it's a gateway mineral cost.
So it's not really expensive, but if you wanted like more Ardent Authorities or something like that, it feels like if you want to drop like 6 of those, you're going to delay your tech, which is what you really want against this.
Yes. Yeah, that also, I mean, the engagement's about to come in here, but it looks like Mystery Meat doesn't want to fight with that cliff advantage. Personally, I think that you could definitely explore going for Empyreans or something like that from the Argosy. I think Magisters, if you can get the debuff on some of those units, you can snipe them from further away. You basically give yourself that cliff advantage, but on any sort of terrain.
You can basically choose how you want to fight it.
Yeah.
Like, Magisters are also good for dealing with the front line.
Yeah,
Because when
that's
he
what I
comes
was
in,
thinking,
you
yeah.
can just snipe them from a further distance. So, Empyreans are great if you just want to bull rush your way in because they're more durable. At this point, this army for Arbus is quite large. He did a little bit of a backdoor with the Zealots there.
It was
that
great.
Tied up the Eidolons for an amount of time, allowing the Draconans and the Architects to clean up the front. So that was his approach that worked very well. There's actually 2 witnesses here, just in case one dies terribly.
Yeah, the secondary...
But the going in.
The reinvestment of the witnesses helped Arbuz actually take that fight because he didn't have to worry about revealing the Eidolons, although he did it anyway with the Zealot flank. So really good stuff there. The frontal stockade, I promise you...
Secret stockade makes a return, splitting up the army, allowing me to get some kills on this. But those witnesses are letting his Architects getting good damage.
Yes.
It was a trade, but it was a good trade for Arbus because he thinned out the number. The Terran army got mostly destroyed. It really stopped Meat's momentum. Now he has a little bit of freedom here. He has got 1 rogue gallery with 5 vagrants queued up. Okay.
Interesting choice. There's a watchdog.
He's gone the middle ground of not investing $1 million gas into it, but he still wants the vagrants. So
yeah, sure.
Oh, there's a couple.
Oh, there's a couple extra. Yeah, sure. Why not? Yeah, you know, the Architects are doing so well for him, it's kind of surprising he doesn't invest into more of those, but instead going for the extra rogue galleries. Just wants some chaff and be able to throw in.
Well, his gas is really tight right now, so he doesn't really want to invest that much into it, but he could cap some geysers, and that would definitely help him out a lot.
I think if you guys set your advisor to Mask instead of the default, you will get the opportunity to hear him say, "Have you tried capping your geysers?" as a random option for when you lose Vespine. So, just saying, you know, the advisor will actually tell you how to play the game a little bit if you change it to Mask.
Yeah, there's definitely some people who do not cap their gas, and then they face the kind of situation Arbuz is in right now, where if he had an extra 3-4 Architects, he'd be super scary right now. But he just doesn't have the gas to really afford it. He's got them queued up, but he can't really, like, if he drops the 3rd building, he's going to starve himself.
Yeah.
But if he had capped 2 of these geysers, he's going to lose a little bit of gas initially, but he's in a position where he's already got him queued up, so it doesn't matter. Then suddenly, in like a couple of minutes, his gas income is going to spike.
All right, well,
there's so much Ahmed.
The Stockade trying to draw those attacks, but Arbuz thankfully able to make things work just fine without them. Now, the Draconans are starting to fall pretty heavily. Servitor did die to allow most of that armory to end up leaving. The Architects are obviously the big ticket item here. I will point out, this game has Mystery Meat delaying his Tier 2 even further than before. And as a result, Arbuz actually has the tech advantage decidedly. So you're going to start filtering in those Vagrants, but... Well, you know, this army is actually, it's whittling away the Hurricanes, and without that front line...
separated.
Yeah, there's no detection still, so the witnesses can reveal.
Ahmed has Arbuz on the ropes. Now the Eidolons are sitting in the middle of this base. This was a lose condition for one of the previous matches where he's pincered in here in the random stockade. It's burning down because it keeps tying up random attacks.
Yes.
But the Architects don't care about it. So Meat is not able to quite secure his foothold there.
Look at the top right.
Nobly gives its life. Yes, there is a Mason and an Ahmed tag teaming this Nexus, and I'm not sure he really notices that yet because there's so much going on. There is a Zealot coming over there, but if that Mason turned around, they could possibly even... I go.
No, I like the repair idea, but unfortunately it was not good enough.
There is... the 2 witnesses are in a little stack. If the Shaman deploys, they probably die, but he didn't notice it decloaking his units as they move past it. There is... There's a lot of stockades.
Oh, yes. Look at his base.
Now the Atlas is finally en route. So the Tier 2 is delayed. That's giving Arbuz some breathing room to build even more rogue galleries. They're often his 4th base here. Additional rogue galleries are en route. Bum fights, Philadelphia experiences are en route. But it is telling that his resources are hurting because he's not getting these Architects as fast as he could be. There's some downtime on these queues.
Still not a single cap in sight from either player. Well, I mean, the Atlas is required for the first one for Mist, but you know, he's moving his army up to the top right to see if he can't contest with this. Right now, he's just going to use the Hurricanes to pinch off and kill the try to deny that Nexus up there.
If the army force the army ends up having to pull over here to deal with that, then Meat might try to go in there again. But his army has kind of been circumcised here. It's not really in a state where he can deal with that So he's maybe thinking, seeing some units coming up here and thinking he's going to test it, but there is so many architects though.
Yeah, and the witnesses are still here with the army as well, so they have been recalled, and that means that the Eidolons will be at risk from those architects.
One died.
Well, the Vagrants are starting to get destroyed by all of the Eidolon shots, and the Hurricanes are still standing tall. Now, that backup with the Architects allowed so many of them to get killed by that extra damage from the Architect passive.
Oh, the witness! The witness!
Oh, it is so low.
It's surviving for so long.
Oh, there we go.
Died.
There we go. Yeah, the Shamans did end up getting deployed. But yeah, now that you've got no detection, you need to wait for those Zealots to charge on in. Huracan dies miserably to battle workers.
Look at Arbuz's money. Unironically, if he had capped his gas, he could go for a Monument of Sin. He can get Enthelians, and when Meat engages, you drop the Enthelians on top of his Eidolons, and the Enthelian might die, but a lot of Eidolons are going to die from all the damage, them getting bunched up and then Architects shooting into it.
Well,
Unironically, when you're sitting at 2,000, 3,000 minerals, and you have no gas caps, you could be looking at maximum tier units being warped in right now.
That is the signal, indeed. So these bases are being consolidated, but Mystery Meat has already put down Ministries in the bottom right to answer. So as soon as he gets the workers transferred over there, they will be about even. Huracan stack sent off to the top right. This is actually a little bit of a problem. The natural will get canceled almost certainly. And this is going to provoke Arbuz further forward. Going to catch some of these Eidolons a little bit, I think.
Random Shaman here is probably going to die instantly.
Yeah, it is. Okay. This is a bit of an awkward spot because Mystery Meat's army hasn't actually fomented fully, and the Witness is here to detect with one of the Shamans going down. The second one also gets sniped by those Architects. Great stuff here from Arbuz. He will drive that back. He did have to lose or cancel the Nexus in the top right natural yet again, and he has a little bit of pressure if he wants to go ahead.
There's a lot of Cyprians in this army that's fermenting here, but they're far off from the back line, and there's no detection currently, so he just has to fight it in the mud.
Vagrants are almost all dead.
Numbers are 11. There's a lot of them. But the front line has now melted. Now it's just a trade, and it's a trade that Meat can't deal with because there's so much overlapping shots. Yes. Everything is dying terribly.
Yeah, those Hurricans would really help out right now if they weren't all the way in the top right. But they did their job. They canceled yet another base. If Mr. Meat can stabilize long enough to get those Heracles up that he was using in that last game, he could be in for a good place. He's got 5 of them coming out at a time, but his rally points were never set, so they need to be manually ordered to the front lines, and I'm not sure Mr. Meat has the overhead.
You get some range advantage on these units running around that third, but as it is, he's trying to trade with it head on. The Masons come! The battle workers have arrived!
They actually, unironically, do reduce the amount of damage Architects do so much because their Architects are only shooting like 1 missile instead of many. But there's just not that much firepower here. It's kind of reminiscent of a later stage version of the same problem that happened on Rage Slave, if you think about it. He's got all the battle workers, but he doesn't really exactly have anything else to fight with. He's got no damage. Look at the stack of Vagrants and Zealots coming in to rejoin the Architects. Got him knocked down back to 12. And the base count still favoring Mystery Meat, but the worker count is sub 20.
Yeah, the worker loss is hurt. He's got tier 2 growing here, but his army is very, 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 very small. He's going to have to sacrifice his base. He needed something on this cliff here to get some shots in. Maybe Sentinels.
Yeah.
Maybe just some Eidolons, something up there to be shooting at them to take at least some of the units off of Arbuz, because the army count is 31 to 66, with the Protoss' army being very, very, very Architect heavy. At this point, you're locked into your ground army, but it feels like what you really want is air units.
Yeah, if he could somehow trade a lot of these units that he's got for like a stack of Gorgons, he could try to start dealing with a lot of what we have over here. Maybe even Wyverns to try to clear out the Vagrants a little bit easier. But the Heracles are going to start to stand tall. There's a good number of them. The one deployed Shaman not being focused down just yet. That Witness could end up falling. It does end up getting destroyed by some Madcaps, but there is another one here, and the other Shaman needs to deploy in order to spot it. Is he even going to get it? No, and it doesn't matter. There's not enough Eidolons here. Mystery Meat. He's made it in. This is a 5-game set. ArbuzBudesh striking back.
So many Architects.
Dude, that was like 14 Architects at the end there. That's pretty good.
Yeah, the late tier 2 and the Architects.
Yeah.
The trades were back and forth, but only a few Architects died. So Arbuz just eventually reached up this critical mass where anything that approached them just got blown up. And Meat didn't have any Seraphs. He didn't have... I mean, he was only really started to be able to actuate tier 2 at the end of the game altogether. So, yep. There was that. Definitely that one when he had his units attacking in the top right and his army got caught out in a big single file and he started losing huge chunks of them. He was already in a losing trade, and then he kind of committed to it, and he lost really badly without thinning out the architect numbers, and it just kind of snowballed after that.
Mess, the last time we saw Oblivion, it was the opener for Arbuz versus Shambler, where Shambler was able to just win with only Zeths and Vorvs. And let's just say Arbuz wants to wipe the taste of that from his mouth and be able to actually take a game on this map. I know he's played it a lot versus Neblime, so it's not like this is the first time he'll ever win or whatever, but just think about it. Think about Mystery Meat. You hear about this guy, you're not sure about him too much. He comes in, he just smashes Neblime. I mean, it was a 3-1 set. So it wasn't uncompetitive, those games that were very, very long, and definitely pushed Mystery Meat for the win. But that's like a what, shock, and awe entry. Okay, I know Neblime's pretty good if I'm Arbuz, so this guy must be pretty good too. Now you've gotten him in a touching distance. You can eliminate him before he can reassert himself as the Tyrant and go on further in the tournament. Have you just laid out the ground floor, the game plan for how Neblime might decide to try to study up and beat Mystery Meat's different Eidolon builds? Or is it actually going to be time for a new guy to knock Mystery Meat out? This will be the first time we saw something like this in tournament play in terms of series like these. That's pretty cool, man. There's a great opportunity here for Arbuz to put his name in the lights, so to speak. We're going on to Game 5, Oblivion. And it could certainly be that. It's one of these two players is going to go home. The other one gets to go in a little bit longer. It's the Silver Tyrant in the top left. It's Mystery Meat. Oh, it's Deep Periwinkle. Whatever. And in the bottom right, it's the Lemon Arbuz. Protoss in the bottom right. He's carrying the torch for Neblime.
It's literally Neblime.
It is.
They're playing over Team View, tunneled in through a VPN on a cell phone, which improved the connection quality from Australia.
I think so, yeah.
So now Neblime's true power has been unlocked through his surrogate plantkin. So will Mystery Meat try something extremely dastardly, scoundrelly, unhinged in this game, like Wraiths? Or perhaps building a stockade directly in front of his opponent on other worlds? Or will he just stick to the same thing? Because it seems like Arbuz is now able to navigate this matchup and has a pretty strong idea of how to deal with it.
Yeah, adaptations on both sides. This has been a series of those, and that's really cool to see. I mean, Mystery Meat, he did lose fairly early on Rage Slave to the well-timed patient rush from Arbuz. It wasn't like the first rush opportunity, but it was an opportunity, and it worked out. Now, Mystery Meat has battled back, getting it within touching distance, but will he be stuffed at the very end? Arbuz getting his scribe sent up there to see that it is yet another stockade. Not going to bother checking for anything else. That's it. He just wanted to see, is it still stockade? Maybe that's the only thing he cares about. Like, yeah, you can make a quarry or not. You can make a star pad or not. I just want to see if you're making a stockade. And look at that.
You can make an atlas. I don't care.
Star pad is en route. We will see race.
So it begins. Back to the tried, the true. What will Arbuz do? He didn't do the early Warden in the last game. He saw the Cyprians and was like, I don't need that. But he didn't scout back into the base in this game. He didn't even try to. He was just like, oh, okay. Will he confidently assume it's going to be Eidolons? I think that at this stage you have to kind of assume that on match point, when you just soundly annihilated this composition, that the opponent might do something.
Yeah, it's so interesting because if it is a gambit. Mystery Meat lost the game in Neblime's set in the fourth quarterfinal. Mystery Meat did lose the game that he went Wraiths in. He only won the games with Eidolon Hurakan, right? And so like that was the primary way that he did it. But he wasn't incorporating Phalanxes into the Wraith stack versus Protoss at that time as like a bit of a follow-up. I mean, he didn't have the opportunity, so maybe he would have done that anyway. But when we're thinking about the way that that Arbuz likes to play, I mean, is he going to have that reaction so fast? Has he thought about what his play is going to be? Because I didn't feel like his compositions were very effective versus the Wraiths and versus the Phalanxes that came after. It was kind of just Striders forever. And yeah, he did have his Stargates denied, which was very tragic for him. But even then, you think about the land effects.
Well, it is all Draconins right now.
Yeah.
So this makes me believe that Arbuz is under the impression this is once again going to be bio-heavy.
Yep.
When in reality, the trio... That's 3 of Mavericks guard the way to the Holy Wraith Pastures. And we can see that Arbuz is going to just kind of noodle his way down here. And these early units are going to run into the Mavericks, and they're going to potentially exposed, just the fact there isn't Cyprians here, is going to tell him that something's weird. But he has to stick his nose in there to find out. And again, he's mostly going to be checking for this expansion, but Meat has not been taking very early bases.
He's certainly not on
Usually
location
goes-
as well. I think everything is off location, so it doesn't tell you a whole lot yet. Those wraiths might be on intercept course. They do avert their... very, very close there. They do avert their move, so they don't get revealed on the minimap. Draken's forcing out a stim. The anchor about halfway done. So I think
So
Mystery Meat
you
should be
see
able to
only
hold here.
Mavericks. You have to assume at this point, I've been had.
Yeah, something weird's
There
going
it
on.
is.
Look at it.
There's the warning,
Okay.
but it's already too late.
There are 3
They're
wraiths
coming.
here. And there is one Draken that just popped out, so there is going to be play here for Arbuz to respond to this, but he's already lost 2 workers. And they're all his gas workers as well. At the same time, his unit's kind of getting dragged into the front line there. Not where he wants them to be. He thought about maybe focusing it down. He's able to kill 1 Maverick. Wraith's not yet dead. They kill 5 workers. That's a great start for Mystery Meat.
Yeah, Arbuz has got some gas banked
we
up.
just lost the
but he's,
Hierophant on the front, too. So things are starting to spiral a little bit. That Warden will finish and provide him with a little bit of insurance.
There's the embassy.
Okay, okay. Yeah, so far the macro is favoring Arbuz. His Nexus is about to finish here. That means he can replenish that workers pretty nicely. There's still no quarry
Yeah,
for
but
Mystery
there's
Meat.
only 3 Drakenans in front, and the Wraith count has grown substantially. As long as this wounded one doesn't die, he might be able to try to trade with these. He might be looking at that and thinking, okay, I'm going to force my way out, and here comes the Mavericks.
Yep.
He'll engage, he'll split, he'll kill those. That is a large chunk of the units that Arbuz currently has. Meanwhile, he's building another Warden to defend his gas workers, but right now, it's actually his units that are suffering, although he does kill a Wraith, and the Mavericks are not following.
Yeah, he's going to kill 1 more, surely. Oh, maybe not, though. Not actually able to focus
split.
it down. So nice work there for Mystery Meat, losing 2 Wraiths to the 3 Drakenans, as well as a Maverick, of course. But he's definitely putting a bit of a fear in Arbuz here, who cut military production so he could afford another Warden. He's getting the Witness out of the embassy. He hasn't built a single worker out of the second Nexus, so far, it actually hasn't really normalized, and the quarry's now in production, so this game goes on for another 2 minutes without catastrophic losses on either side, and Mystery Meat will be able to normalize some sort of economic advantage, because he went for a Ministry and not a Treasury, so he will have extra workers.
Now, this Witness has a little bit of time to go, but the Drakenans are kind of bunched up here. If he wants to try to pick them off and go for a trade here, he will probably suffer some losses, but this is probably the only time he's going to be able to do it.
I think so,
At
yeah.
least for a while here.
Oh,
But
and the Witness is
going
going
in the
across.
wrong direction for this.
Yeah, sure is. Workers sniped at the natural, normalizing the worker count yet again. 2 Masons at a pop because of that quarry. That's soon to be 3 with that Ministry. We've got a Vestry coming in back at the main base here for Mystery Meat. He will be able to start healing those up. When you have to make a Warden before you can even start mining, it feels real oppressive
Yeah.
in the Protoss camp.
But the space for me is only now coming down. The Witness is going up there still. He's trying to pick off some of these Drakenans so their numbers don't become too bad.
Uh-oh.
But the focus fire kind of goes a little bad for me at this point.
Oh, no.
1 down.
Yeah, one of them could have been killed earlier, too, but it feels like he flubbed the micro on that one a little bit too hard.
Yep.
Second Warden spotted. Embassy spotted. He's going to be aware that things are here.
Yeah, that definitely hurts. The one Drakenan lived for so long, and the other one escapes entirely.
Yeah, no
With only
moving shots
22
there,
health.
yeah. Just a technique thing, really. It's a little bit surprising, but, you know, that does happen. Now, Mr. Meat does have about 10 Wraiths still, 9 or 10 Wraiths. He's got 2 more in production. Never made the 3rd star pad. I wonder if he's going to come to regret
I feel like
that.
we're going to see the Fulcrum pretty soon.
Yeah,
here.
it's right up
Yeah,
now.
there it
You're
is.
right.
So
Because you see the
definitely,
Draken
take
count,
some
you definitely
steam
think
out of his
Phalanxes.
sails.
And look at this, the Stargate's coming out here for Arbuz. Sure, you can use Lanifex to snipe the Wraith stack, but if the Phalanxes are in enough number and you kind of like buy yourself enough time, the Wraiths kind of justify the acquisition of the Phalanxes later on, so...
Yeah. Well, he's being pretty confident right now. Arbuz taking a little bit of a tickling, but he definitely took a lot of pressure off of himself by the miss micro from Meat.
Yep.
And now that the Shaman is out, the Witness is still only spying the expansion, but it is telling him there is no move out. If it does move up this ramp, it will die. That
Well,
Fulcrum will
speaking
probably
of-
drop a Palladium pretty good. And there he goes.
So he's not going to know that the Fulcrum is there. He didn't have the vision range to see that just yet. But he can probably assume, based on the Cold Sweat game, that the Phalanx count is going to be like a factor in this particular match. There's a Palladium, like you mentioned.
Yep.
Saturation could be a little
There
bit
is
better
two
here for Mist than
Anseals
the
on the way,
natural.
so he is still committing pretty heavily to this.
Okay.
There is an engram being built inside the Nat, so he's definitely going to need those Anseals if he wants to tickle the Nat again, but honestly, I think in his current state, the Nat's pretty much unapproachable. The main is a lot more viable, especially with the Anseals, if he can just tickle back and forth and tie up Arbuz for a long time, prevent the dropping of a third, then he can transition into some kind of tank push like he did when he did this last time. There is a second Fulcrum coming. You may see something more like what he did with in previous games where he just went very, very tank heavy, but now you've got some pretty expensive gas consumption, so I think Meat's going to want to build a third. You would have really liked to have had the momentum off of the Wraiths staying alive to do this, but nonetheless, we do have this push coming out here, and incidentally, this is the time Arbuz decides to move his Draconids up to the front, where they're maybe going to get run into first. Oh.
No. That was definitely on the radar there. The land effect providing vision over the cliff. Arbuz thinking about a third. Not going to get canceled by Mystery Meat. A little bit of a good timing there for Arbuz. Meat's Star Sense not activating. Instead, he's going to go for extra Fulcrums. Really wants to. You were talking about maybe taking an expansion, but it looks like Mystery Meat's setting up for a timing similar to what happened on Cold Sweat, but maybe this time with more tanks, which would be a great choice here considering the 16 Dracodons. Nexus is indeed sighted here.
He's thinking about going for the Nexus, but he knows the army's out there. So he'll instead pick up this land effect.
That's good.
And get this Draconids too. Just be annoying. Send out the army. Now the army has to come back.
Yeah.
Because now this is actually a threat that cannot be dealt with.
That Ardent Authority has got to be canceled. I think.
No, it's
I feel
not
like
taking that much damage. It's got too much armor. There goes the Witness though. It's gonna take him a while to take this. It gives the army the chance to come back up. He can't finish it off.
True. Yeah. Fair enough.
It would have been better to go for the Warrens and force them to build more static defense. At that point, you can just waste his money a little bit. The Ardent Authority just has too much armor.
It's fair. One thing that's pretty cool about that engagement there for Mystery Meat is he didn't lose a single Wraith. So,
yep.
He's...
Some of his units are pretty wounded, but they lived.
That's right.
Thins out the land effects, knows that they're there, so now he can prepare ahead of time, but there's only, I think, one alive right now. So, it worked out pretty well. And hey, look at this. He's building an engram there. So, that's going to help him out defend against this, but there are Anseals, so he could, hypothetically try to burst that down.
Yeah.
But it will definitely help Arbuz stay, but at least for the moment, that's money that didn't go into an additional unit, so...
Yeah, and look at the Phalanx count.
Slow, steady crawl here. We got some Goliaths coming as well.
We're going to have 6 Phalanxes and maybe half as many Goliaths pretty soon for the push. No map control for Arbuz at all.
At this point, though, is we're not seeing Ahmed. So Ahmed's armor shred was really, really important for the Wraiths trading with the Draconids.
Yes.
And Ahmed is not present. So unless he starts building Ahmed, there's not going to be that armor shred.
All right, he gets the one shot off. That's all the 2 Anseals protects you from with this number of Wraiths, just mind you. And one of them's already dead, thanks to the land effects there. They are focusing down the Anseal, which is not a good look here for Mystery Meat. Losing both of those is not great. He is going to see if he can deploy, but he's only got a couple of Phalanxes here. I feel like he moved out a little bit too prematurely.
Yeah,
and look at this.
Units are still behind.
Yeah, just disable them immediately. Wraiths are going to come in and snipe them. Okay, that's pretty good play there, but where is the ground pressure? Turns out there isn't really any.
Oh, no! A little bit of a flummox there. He could stick this Goliath into that anchor there, get some extra range on it, but...
Last land effect dead.
At the moment, he's just kind of holding the line. I feel like this is a do or die for Meat at this point, but Arbuz eventually cedes the high ground, and the Goliath gives chase.
Man, Mystery Meat had such good timing a lot of the time with all these attacks, but like the physical...
Fuck him up!
The actual mechanical execution of it was just not good in a lot of these cases, unfortunately for Mist. It felt like he flubbed a lot of those. He's got a 14k minerals as well, so...
The Goliath having a little bit of a spastic fit. Anakin did not have the high ground that time.
No, indeed, he falls back to it.
Mr. Ministry on the route. Additional tanks, some vultures.
These Wraiths need to heal up at those Shamans, but those didn't get brought with the rest of the army. He's actually got 2 back at home. He's got a bunch of Phalanxes that haven't been moved out. And adding more Fulcrums, it looks like. Okay, third base on the way.
He really wants to make this timing attack work, but the longer this goes on, the less likely it is to happen because Arbuz, maybe sensing this, is starting to build architects again.
Yeah.
Although both players have an absolutely disgusting amount of minerals. Oh, these units are fucked. Oh, get in the anchor! Get in the anchor, Mr. President! Into the...
He didn't even lay his mines. Thought we were going to have lobster for dinner.
an absolute disaster, but there are some tanks over here, including a Shaman that is not currently deployed.
We actually have 2 ministries coming out here for Mist, so you mentioned that earlier, Mesk, and I feel like at this point, maybe Mr. Enemy just wants to... He's abandoned the idea of a timing attack. No, nice pylon.
The Manor Pylon has thwarted, and Arbuz thinking, maybe there's a base over here, but there isn't. So it doesn't have an easy angle to attack for the moment. The fact there isn't a base there means that he kind of has to either approach this army one way or another, or just give it up, and for the moment, he's going to give it up. As he just continues to expand. The worker count's still very close to each other in spite of all that.
This is another game where it feels like Mystery Meat is stuck on like a 15-minute Atlas timing.
Yeah, and especially after he started spamming Goliaths on top of it. I mean, both players had so many minerals, he kind of just felt like he had to spend it, but...
Well, think about the vultures, right?
Are keeping him locked in.
Vultures with mines, you set up all these ambushes where the Dracodons, at the very least, you'll see where they are and when they're going to be about to hit. 12 o'clock is a viable target here for Arbuz, who is starting to investigate that, and where is the map control here for Mist? He's going to see a little bit of these units sort of like moving up here. He might try to engage with the Wraith stack. Remember, the Architects can't shoot up.
If he kills the Architects, it'll be a good pick for him, but he has to be careful because those Lanifex are going to fuck his shit.
Yeah,
that's
really, that is so scary.
You have to split these units because he's going to kill the Wraiths if he gets to get too many attacks.
Well, Arbuz did kind of tunnel vision in on the Lanifex, looking out for that Wraith stack, so he ends up losing 5 Dracodons to a couple of Phalanx shots there. So that still ends up being pretty cost efficient. He only ends up losing 3 Wraiths and a couple Vultures.
He didn't get any of the Architects, though, and those are definitely a win condition for Arbuz. He's only got the 1 Art and Authority at the moment, but the Rogue Galleries are preparing for Philadelphia moments. There is a Manor Pylon chilling out here on the west side of the map, just waiting for Meat to discover it with a cheeky little troll face.
You know, the Wraith count is high enough that I think you could actually skirmish with this army, assuming it picks the land effect first. Yeah. But instead, you know, the reinforcements...
He really wants to pick around here, find bases or something.
Yeah.
I don't think he can kill that engram still, but he only has the 2 Anseals, so he's maybe going to check for some of these other units here. A little bit of tickle. Tickle, tickle.
Yeah, Architect only has 2 armor, but you really don't want to be charging into that. And, okay, they try to go after the land effect, but something happened. Something went wrong. Oh, so many of them end up going down, as well as, of course, the Anseals. And now the Scribe is battle workering at 12.
Oh, my God. His ministry is going to burn down in 20 minutes.
Rest of the army moving up over there to see if it can't contest that. Has Mystery Meat made the read? Turns out no. Oh, look at that. Setting up a little bit of a wall there for the attack move.
That's 3.
Man, Arbuz is really a fan of the
his version
pylon.
of the stockade. So I think at this point, Meat kind of has to lift this off and hope for the best. But
yeah, he's not reacting to this push just yet. He's got a lot of his units just kind of chilling in the middle of the map. He's realized he's kind of just written it off as like a loss.
Yeah. Reassembling his battle workers. Additional phalanxes coming. Additional vultures coming. Meat has a fairly large army here. His unit count is higher. Well, and he does wipe out the Manor Pylon, but Arbuz has played this map literally like 300 times.
Yes.
So he kind of understands the whole Neblime way of approaching it too, which is precisely kind of what he's doing here. Where he's just going to build a little, outcropping of wardens and an engram here.
Yeah. Just, control the map a lot,
and look at the rest of the map, but the longer he stays here, the more Meat has to be ever conscious of possible shenanigans should he actually try to move out. Meanwhile, we have this other little force.
No, the Wraiths!
Oh, the Wraiths!
No, they're fine. They'll pick an Architect.
And as a result of that, they're going to pick off an Architect, which he has a lot now, but that still kind of tickles. Oh, but Arbuz is going to try to move into this army. He thinks maybe Meat may have moved out with that, but he didn't.
No, he did not.
Meat is still playing with his Wraiths, and so... oh, my God. What a way to discover your opponent is proxying you.
Yeah, just a couple vultures up
there.
The
larger army is coming down here. This is what Neblime and friends like to do, is they constantly are attacking between these 2 positions, and Meat very likely has not played this map even a fraction amount that these 2 players had. So this is definitely where Arbuz is going to enter very, very familiar territory, and he can just play it like he does against Neblime.
I gotta say, Arbuz has looked in control. You know, now he's going for his double synthetic synod. So he does like the demiurges. That is usually his unit of choice there.
He just has to encapsulate this as my opponent is Protoss. I'm playing against Neblime. All I have to do is just do this the exact same way I play against Neblime. And honestly, I feel like Arbuz will take it if he does that, because I highly doubt Meat has any interaction. Like this map, these two bases in particular that Arbuz is pressuring are bases that are just like constant fighting between those two in this match. And I've seen it over and over and over again. So Arbuz is very, very familiar with the back and flow and like how to commit what units to these and how to pace it out. Mead has to get a lot of mileage out of his air pressure in this, which is how a lot of the times Neblime would take games on this, is through these little stacks like vassals and shit. But, you know, Arbuz is dealing with it. He's got his land effects. The Wraiths can't really fight those like stacks of, you know, Vargas would be able to with vassals. Their burst is higher. So he's just going to suffocate the map, and eventually you'll see him just push in.
Cataphracts are on the way. The tier 2 was 16 minutes 10 seconds on the completion. Mystery Meat going for double ministry, but he hasn't put any of the Masons onto this 4th base ever since it got heckled earlier. So I do love the.
Well, he may have been thinking another attack was coming in.
Right.
I remember Neblime telling me something specifically about the middle of the map here, in that he didn't want to fortify the middle of the map because it's just constantly being backdoored, and he would just like separate. He'd put units there, but he would always be moving them in and out of it. And this is kind of the situation where we can kind of see why. But Mead is in such a position where he can kind of sacrifice this base and put pressure directly onto Arbuz's base, because a lot of his units are split up, and as a result, he is getting some good mileage out of this. But there is still a lot of vagrants and other units here. So yeah, Mead has to make this work, and you can see now his other units are going to move in, but Mead still has like lobsters, he's got tanks, he's got some sentinels, he's got a little bit here to deal with this, and as a result, one of these armies does have to move back, but Mead's push is losing steam as well.
Yeah, he's mostly lost a lot of the units he was using. Now, at the same time, this North army that was camping the 12 o'clock is mostly just going to get evaporated here. Architects now having to withdraw back to the static defense. Cataphracts and other mech units pushing down south, but the reinforcements from that western push have marched all the way back to clear out these phalanxes.
Yep. The vagrants end up wasting a lot of time on the tanks because they revive. They're going to die anyways.
Look at that.
Wow. Ends up conceding.
So after a 20-minute grueling match, feeling suffocated and contained, the Wraiths not doing it for him, I can't believe we're actually seeing Mystery Meat get eliminated. That is kind of a shocker, and Arbuz is the one to do it. Again, this did technically happen before in a tournament, but it wasn't in series play, and it was more of those like group style plays that we have. And I'm a little bit surprised, Mesk. I honestly thought that there was a very good chance that Mystery Meat was going to take it, even after that first loss. It took a while. He made Arbuz work for it, for sure. But, you got to put some respect on that guy's name. He is a grinder. He's played a lot of games. You were talking about his record, playing a lot of matches in general on Oblivion specifically. Yeah. And so we got to see some of that this time around. We did get to see just how familiar Arbuz is. So he'll set himself up to face the winner of Neblime versus the Shambler, which is, of course, our next match. Ladies and gentlemen, Mystery Meat is out of the tournament.
Will Arbuz get 7 pulled by Shambler over and over again? Will he encounter mass Zeths, mass Vorvs? Does he have a solution to the Vorv problem? Well, Shambler has to defeat Neblime first. And that will also, hopefully, be all 7 pulls. And lots of typing. 5 matches, all 7 pulls.
I could see that.
That would be the BDB spirit.
That would be like the fastest best of 5. It would be faster than some of the 3 games that we've, three game sets that we've casted. Yep. And that goes back to it, like, would you rather see a 5-game set where you technically have all 5 games, but they're all really fast and cheesy and silly? Or would you rather see a game where it's like a 3-game set, but every game is super fucking close? Like, there's different strokes for different folks, and the meat was
they can be close because it technically, by definition, an all-in is going to be close one way or another.
Yeah, true. Fair. All right, well, that does give us a little bit of an opportunity here to take a chill pill, take a break, use the bathroom, etc. This does mean that Mystery Meat is unfortunately completely out of the tournament. I gotta say, I was not expecting Arbuz to be able to take it out, but it did end up working out that way. Shout out to Arbuz. You are a legend. You have cemented your story as at least going longer this time around in this story than before, than Mystery Meat. And I also got to say shout out to Mystery Meat. You're eliminated, but you gave us some very memorable games in the 3 sets that you ended up playing, and just cool, some very, very cool things ended up happening in those games. After the set, Mystery Meat did say GG's was a lot of fun. So even in loss, he had some fun with it. So that's always nice to see. We are going to be coming up on probably, let's say, a less glamorous and sportsman-like match, because Neblime and the Shambler have history, and they are, I mean, sportsman-like is probably the wrong word for that. They are pretty sportsman-like overall, except when the Shambler wants to type about slavery or whatever he did. But besides that, I mean, Neblime taking on the Shambler, Neblime being the higher seed in that ordeal. He will have the veto advantage, so to speak. But that will be elimination 2B.
I'm ready to see the 7 pools.
Yeah, I am too. I'm sure it's going to end up happening. As a reminder, guys, the Shambler did play that set right after the set against Hit 'em Up. And so we are going to be time traveling a little bit, obviously, but that is one of those kinds of things where you might not be able to come back from exactly. So we'll have to see how his mental game does. But hey, I'm very, very interested in seeing the outcome there. I do think that, what did you have any sort of overall thoughts on that set? Because I am a little bit surprised at the outcome, being that it was Mystery Meat to take the loss at the end. Some uncharacteristic mistakes, perhaps, in terms of the macro, but pretty cool to see the way that Arbuz sort of approached that. And he kind of made the Terran style look mortal, which is something that, listen, I keep getting told Cyclops are monstrously overpowered. Eidolons, how do you even fight them? And, I take everything with a grain of salt, but with so many turns having success, I'm thinking to myself, okay, yeah, maybe it is really difficult for the, to actually fight some of that stuff. And I'm not saying we're not going to make changes or whatever. I'm just saying it was really cool to see Arbuz be able to do that. I was a little bit surprised. I didn't have that on my bingo card, but there's a lot of adaptations in this series.
Yeah, there's like a lot of things. I remember hit him up saying, "Oh, I don't do this because I tested it in the unit map, and it doesn't work in the unit map." And I'm like, but that's not a real game. And it's like there's just a lot of like questions that feel like you have to actually do these in real matches in an actual competitive setting, and take in all these different factors to determine how well they actually work or not. And there's obviously things in this that I would say are probably like underpowered or overpowered, but we're talking very small changes. Like I have said before, like some cost adjustments literally can just be 10, 15 minerals. But then you guys wanted to keep things in like these 25 increments or whatever. But like I'm talking like very, very small knob changes.
I'm actually a little bit less opposed to making it. I think maybe if we made it just 5s, it would probably be fine. So I actually don't think it would be too bad if it was like 115 or 110.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Is like those are the kind of balance changes I think you're at the point at now for a lot of this stuff. Now, when you add in the ass cozy, that's gonna throw everything to the wind. Everything's gonna turn into
I can't wait for everybody to turn into an Escozy player. Yeah. Shambler did say he was gonna make sure to Zerg rush every Escozy though. So like,
good luck.
Seven pulling.
They have chain axes on their battle workers.
That's right.
And I mean, like the balancing, like Eidolons may indeed be very strong, and Cyclops may indeed be very strong, but their adjustments would be, I think, quite minor to bring them into line. And you're also at a level of play where it's like these units I don't think are busted enough to completely define the matchups.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what you were saying too, is that, people are Arbuz defeated the overpowered Eidolon.
Yes.
And it's like maybe it's like Meat's not at the point where you can really maximize how overpowered they are, but that just means that both players have rooms to improve anyway. So, but it's also like, I think what this matchup kind of shows to me is just Arbuz's comfort on that one map on Oblivion. It's like, this is exactly what you would see him in Neblime doing. So it's like, I knew that when Meat started flubbing micro, that he was in a really bad spot, because this is just going to become very rudimentary for Arbuz at this point. And now Meat's going to be put into a situation where he's going to be viewing this map from a way that is like, these maps have a lot of these forking paths and shit, but Oblivion in particular, since they've played so much on it, and they've gone into late game and shit so much with this, then you just kind of know that this is how he's going to be behaving it. And you can see that like Meat kind of like paced himself around getting split attacked and stuff like that, but he lost so much momentum off the Wraiths, and it started becoming like an investment sink and a lost fallacy where he feels like he has to make it work. But the cost didn't return. I don't know how many Anseals he lost to the Lanifex. It feels like at least 6 of them. which is a lot of gas that could have been tier 2, it could have been more tanks, it could have been something. And they didn't really actuate anything for him at the end of the day. He got a few picks and kills out of it, but it ultimately didn't really stop the momentum. And then he started losing bases, and then he started getting his balls pinched, and here we are, right? Like, that's definitely where the experience in that kind of play style started to really pinch against me, and he felt like he had to make the Wraiths work because the Eidolons felt like maybe they had been solved to him at that point. But even though the Wraiths kind of caught Arbuz off guard, it didn't ultimately result in actually being able to squeeze out the match. And Arbuz just kind of almost approached it from the Neblime style, where it's like, okay, I'm going to build a bunch of static defense. And that worked. It shut it down, because there's only ever 2 Anseals, so the engrams were more than enough to thwart those off, because Wraiths alone are going to take so long to kill the engram. And you can see that when he was trying to kill the Ardent Authority, that it's just the armor is too much for them to take down. So at that point, you kind of have to think, okay, this doesn't have momentum anymore. I really should switch off of this. Or even consider like switching to Trojans, drop a couple Augments with it. That could make a difference if we really wanted to commit to it. But at that point, it's kind of like this momentum is losing. But there was definitely some misplays too, and I feel like maybe Meat was starting to get a little sweaty in that, because it felt like he was maybe getting a little shaken by the intensity of the match and the odds that were against him. Whereas before it was like, if you're early into the series, you can do something like this and it's not as big of a deal. But some people definitely start to crack under the pressure, and you've kind of seen that a few times in these matches. And that's what a 5-match and a longer match series is really interesting, is to see. It's like, I think a lot of players have a very strong early game, and this is something I observe a lot, of course, within the other casts that I've done in League of Legends and the FFAs in this game and so on. Is just, you have a lot of people that have very strong laning phases, early phases. Like the first 10-15 minutes is what they've practiced, but they don't do late game. So you have a lot of people where like their entire decision making process and stuff like that is not practiced, and it's just not there for late game, and they start to get really impatient. And in this is a 5-series set. You have not simply the late game to possibly think about, because a lot of these go into like 20 minutes plus. It's also late in the match series, where your opponent is very obviously doing some adaptations and builds and trading the scouting game slightly more differently. You have to be able to think on that with a fresh mind too, and that can catch you off guard. And even though Arbuz didn't really do anything super different or abnormal within this series, it was Meat starting to make more and more changes to his build that was pushing him ever so slightly beyond what he may have practiced or really focused on this, down to going to match point, where to me, in my eyes, it felt like he may have thought he may have been forced to make certain things work, when in reality is that he was a little bit more safer, a little less committed, and maybe focused a little bit more on macro in this overall, as opposed to just like really trying to force the Wraith Anseals to work, that he might have been able to at least prevent the snowball of losing the top and then losing the left, and then like getting kind of unhinged by that. And especially like when he moved out, his army was not really that big, because he had to leave a bunch to defend home. It felt like maybe just pushing out these little bases on the side, getting rid of those, and then moving out because you have a better defensive position, might have been able to help him reorient that game and get it back on track. But he didn't really do that. It felt like he had this pressure on him to be more aggro, when the aggro was going to work against him no matter what he did.
Yep, I would say that's a fair characterization of that last map. And it might also have been like, I don't know, it is a bit of a gambit to go for the way that you think about it, like the going for the Wraiths in the last game. It's all or nothing kind of thing. That, like I mentioned at the beginning of that cast, Cold Sweat is the game that Neblime took, because he was able to stab right back with the Wraiths, and you have to think maybe Arbuz is thinking about that. The demise came a very different way, and it did come down to, I think, familiarity on the map. So shout out to Arbuz for that one. And he will move on. He will be facing the winner of Neblime and the Shambler, which we will cast after the break. What do you say, Mesk? Like 8 minutes or so, and we'll be back?
Yeah,
Does that work for you? All right.
Enough time to make piss, and then make more piss by pissing.
I think that's about correct, yeah. That's, I think, how that math works out. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be back. Join us for Neblime against the Shambler. Who knows how long it'll be or how much salt there will be, but there will be typing.
I hope so.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are back with the program. Day 5 continues with a second set, Neblime versus the Shambler. And you know what? This PVZ matchup should be one for the history books. Should be. But you never know with stuff like this. We're going to go to Elimination 2B. And let me tell you a thing or two about this matchup, this set, the way that the maps worked out and everything. First map is going to be Blackwater Bastion, a 4-spawn map, which is, of course, something that I'm always a fan of. Or is it? I feel like I've been frauded. Yeah, I've definitely been frauded. What the? Who did this? Our first map is going to be Paradise, which is a map that is also a 4-spawn map, and it's a great one. It's a great one. I think what happened here is that these timestamps from the replays are based on who generated the replay file that we ended up using, and they didn't get renamed. So Paradise is game 1, but Blackwater Bastion, I guess we used Neblime's replay for that. So the first map was used, and Neblime exists in the past or the future or something. So anyway, I'm pretty sure that's what happened. Nonetheless, Paradise is our first map. Blackwater Bastion is our third map. So I didn't leak anything. That is still a guaranteed map that we will get. Cold Sweat is number 2, with Oblivion being number 4, and Maxium being the decider. So we will have some 4-spawn antics here, which I'm very excited about. And we will also get to see no Rage Slave this time around. Shambler used his ban on that because, of course, surprising. Rage Slave is a map that is death for Zerg in his opinion. And yeah.
It's strange. The name alone would make you think it's his map.
Yeah.
Because he's a slave to Rage.
Yeah, that's why he complains about slavery, range slavery. Exactly. Impetus was banned by Neblime. It's kind of interesting there. He doesn't want to use that 2-spawn map in this pool. So maybe he wants to always put some distance between himself and Shambler, but then Impetus is a long-distance map. So I don't really know how that one works out, but maybe he'll be in the chat and explain himself later on. By the way, Luciferius is in the chat, and he also set us up a subreddit. So if you guys want aids in that version, you can go there. It's
you can be very positive. HIV
very positive. Yeah, that's right. Updoots to the left. Here he is with the link, of course.
Thanks for the Reddit gold, fellow Keck Redditors. LOL Keck.
Thanks for the gold, kind stranger. Fucking disgusting.
You too can measure your life success based on how many updoots you get.
I got 2 updoots already.
Oh my god!
Post. That's almost 3.
You are winning. You are the winner. That is almost 3. You gotta just delete your account when you get 3, though, because you can't go past 3.
Oh, true. Yeah. Well, Paradise is indeed the opening here. Do you have any previewing words for Neblime versus the Shambler? Now that we know for sure Shambler played this right after Hit 'em Up, are we that kind of makes him the underdog anyway. Were you expecting him to put up a fight versus Neblime? How are you feeling about this matchup, knowing what we know about it?
I'm hoping he types, but I'm figuring he'll be less worked up over Neblime normally. But then if he came out of the other match, the third one we didn't get to see because 3 just turned into a void. So this is technically our third ceremony.
That's right.
And I don't know. There's like some polarizing forces, but I feel like Hit 'em Up and Shambler are always going to be typing. But Neblime doesn't really give in to typing.
Yes, that's right.
And we see that Hepsiah tried very, 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 very hard to get him to be sportsmanlike, but he couldn't. Neblime was just too kind of a gentleman, and just so kind he couldn't even, shake hands with Hepsiah and okay, friend, I will type for you. No, just wouldn't give it up. So I feel like Shambler won't have any more success, as Hepsiah does seem to be more of a professional typist, more of the Idra type. It's wonderful, honestly. I wish I could get them both into the same game, maybe with Shambler in the Spectator or something.
Well, if Avalo wasn't such a woman harasser, I would be very interested in having him in the game, and maybe he'll find it anyway.
Woman,
maybe.
I can't have that.
Yeah, that's right.
But it would have been nice. But unfortunately, I would like to see Shambler 7 pool every single game and just rage the entire time, but chances are he may have had something to drink or something before this, and that may mellow him out. But
okay.
I don't know. We'll see. I feel like that if Neblime did something really cheeky immediately into the series, it would set off Shambler for the whole thing. But
set the tone.
Neblime doesn't really do really cheeky stuff, so maybe the fact that he'll refuse to do anything non-standard may also set Shambler up, because sometimes that also is an interaction that happens. So I don't know, but I feel like if Shambler was indeed suffering from a migraine, like he said, that he's going to be kind of fucked either way. But you never know. It is versus Paras. He's shown he can win against Paras, so he may be able to apply that to Neblime. But Neblime will probably have more experience in this matchup overall. And to be fair, it hasn't really changed a tremendous amount over time. So I feel like Neblime should pretty comfortably take this. The real question will be, how entertaining will it be? And if Neblime can get tilted somehow, but I feel like that's basically never going to happen. So, yeah, it's I think it'll be a rough spot for Shambler overall. But you never know. He might have practiced very, very hard explicitly for Neblime, and the other match was just a setback. Maybe he's coming here explicitly to fuck over the Prodosses and just ignore the Tyrants. That's a possibility too.
He did say something about trying to show Zergs how to deal with Protoss. So maybe you know, it's funny, but you might be right about that. We are going to Paradise for our first game, so let's just see how this one kicks off, because of course Neblime seems like the heavy favorite, but that don't mean no thing to Shambler. He's in the bottom left as our red Zerg. Oh wait, no, this is not red. This is blood. Oh, it is red. Fuck. Is Zerg in the bottom left, and Neblime here in the bottom right is the green Protoss. At least I got that one right. Dude, I saw
it's Christmas colors again.
It is. These two just can't stop.
Neblime is always so festive.
That's right. That's right. Can't believe it.
I don't know if they even have a winter in Kangaroo Land. Isn't it just like always insanely hot?
I guess you'd have, like, you know, they have Christmas in the desert. Like, if you go to the map Mirage in Counter-Strike around Christmas time, if the developers remember to enable it, they have a Christmas mode. So that tells me that they probably have that in real life, too. Video games are very realistic, after all.
I think that actually the biomes in Australia, like, I think one of the biomes in it is really, really different near the coast. So they might have a winter. There was one Australian who told me that it gets kind of cold where she is, but I don't know if it actually like snows or anything.
Yeah, there was a point where I was talking to somebody from Canada actually, and they sent me a picture of their car, and I said, "That's not a picture of your car because there's no snow in there." Because when I was like 11, I just assumed it was perpetually under snow. But since then, you've kindly informed me that that is not the case.
Yeah, we don't really see snow. We have in like the last decade, we've had storms come. That will bring snow with them, but it usually melts within a day or two. Oftentimes, you see very, very little snow. And even if we do see heavy snowfall, it usually just warms right back up and it's gone again pretty quickly. But the ice winds are pretty bad. If you live in central Canada, you can see some hail. The Schwa has shown me many photos of what hail does in Calgary, and they build all their newer buildings out of like cheap plastic, and they just get fucking annihilated. Vehicles get fucking annihilated. And we see hail like maybe once every 3 years, and it's just this little, it's basically like very wet rain with a little bit of ice in it. And it's just sloshy, but you will actually probably die if you go out into it, because they're huge. And it's just like, holy shit. Some parts of the world are actually dangerous.
That's right.
And you know what isn't dangerous is Shambler. He's going not 7-pull, and that just doesn't sit right with me. It just doesn't feel right.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, at least what will feel right for you is that Hierophant laugh. What a cool voice line. And the Droleth is dead. It was shambling, though. It was burrowed by the ramp. Yeah. It was more like a Krankendow spot, but he did end up rescouting and seeing a two-gate opener here so far for Neblime. Hierophant first. Workers tickling. Pool now complete. So, that Hierophant could have gone out the other way, but obviously the worker is happy to get a little bit of extra info and, of course, slow down the Hierophants from moving across. It's actually pure Hierophant. We're going to have 4 Hierophants on the map.
Hierophant versus what is presumably going to be Vorvs very soon here.
Yeah, the Vespian is in tow.
Oh
no, Neblime, you gotta watch out for that one. You're gonna get surrounded and absolutely slapped. Now remember, Neblime is very adept at like taking a Hierophant and slipping it through the cracks and just like kind of wandering around forever. By the way, nice bitty toe. And I just feel like the way that Neblime manages to make that happen is hilarious. Like, how do you?
Yeah, the games versus was it Jack that I watched with Neblime when I first started casting again.
Yeah, that's right.
We saw that constant
Yes.
in early action, and he would just run the Zeths around the map for fucking ever. So this is very, very familiar. And now, of course, we're going to see the Ecclesias and the Zealots coming. Some fairly standard openings from Neblime here. We do have Vorvs on the way. The pool is morphing, but they're going to be a little late to deal with this if Neblime wants to attack now. But it looks like he kind of really doesn't want to.
Yeah,
but
just confirm no expansion.
Trade this.
Yeah.
He can go for trades. He's going to assume, and probably rightfully so given the conversations prior, is that this is just going to be Vorv Zeth. So
he does have a Warden for any Nath shenanigans, but there is no Vespene being harvested, so we know Shambler's not doing that. It's going to be, what is that, 7 or so Vorvicores being mutated. We are going to see eventually an expansion attempt by Shambler. Now, filtering in the Zealots and Ecclesiasts, Neblime should be able to just hold indefinitely. But we were talking actually elsewhere in the tournament. Even without Neblime being there, you were contrasting Arbuz's playstyle for how he takes expansions with static defense with the way that Neblime will put in like the double, triple matrix sometimes. And that was a different matchup, but it's kind of interesting he's not doing that this time around. Shambler's attacks, Neblime knows, hit too soon for that sort of thing. Double Lattice is the pivot, and now Shambler's getting kind of tied up here. We can see maybe why those Hierophants ended up being selected, because so many of those units ended up getting peeled off.
Yeah, so the other contrast here is that most often when Arbuz encountered either Vik or Shambler was out in the open,
right,
and the match was largely decided by how well they were able to ball up, or if there was terrain they could ball up against to reduce the surface area.
Yeah.
But Neblime, and now after a certain point when he confirmed no expansion, has completely bottled into here and is just going to one-base it. We're actually seeing double lattice, and that's vassals on the way, which is another way you can deal with this, of course, is just opting out of it entirely. And as a result, Shambler is now in a position where he is containing his opponent rather than actually fighting them, surrounding them, and going for what is basically a dice roll. So this may be slightly unfamiliar territory for Shambler in this case, but he is going to expand. He is going to start harvesting gas again. And how will he transition from this point? I honestly think he would probably just go straight for tier 2 because he doesn't seem to really care too much about the other tech options at this point. Although you may see Backless at some stage, especially if this attack ends up failing. But Neblime did kind of move out here, but you can see how he kind of wiggled back in.
Yep.
And this just reestablishes his choke, and he thins out the Zerg a lot. So at this stage, he's probably going to move out. He does have a couple idols here. The splash is not really amazing, but it is just all Zeth, so they'll get just a little bit in. And he's got the lattices anyways, so he may as well make them. It is just Zeth Vorv, but there is some quasis on the way, some ticklers.
That's right. The one vassal did get a worker kill, and so that's something that Shambler has had to deal with. Now, the move out is where Neblime can be punished, but he's already very fast approaching some kind of containment on the natural, and that is going to stop the Zeths and Vorvs from being able to really sync up with the rest of the units.
There's too few units for Shambler here, but some reinforcements do come up on those Ecclesias, but they came a little late.
Yeah.
And the sustain is such that the Protoss can just mince through this.
There's not much left here for Shambler. He's only got, 8 pairs of Zeths in the production. Yeah, that's going to be GG called. Knows that he can't really contest any further, and a very fast game to start us off, but I felt like if Shambler had caught that army in unison as it moved across the bottom strip of the map, that would have worked out a little bit better. But hats off to Neblime for what he did there. He really hugged the terrain to make sure that a surround would have been costly.
Yep. He was in slightly out of position, but Shambler wasn't in a position to really exploit that because he kind of needed to wait for those reinforcements to come. But by the time they were going to come there, the opportunity to jump on that was kind of gone. So he tried to make the most of what he could, but it's still Ecclesia Zealot. The Zeths are going to take so long to mince through that. So a lot of the Zealots ended up surviving, and the rest of the army was pretty healthy afterwards. Even though he managed to get a bunch of the reinforcements on top of the Ecclesiasts, they didn't really care because by that point they were starting to attack those units. They were sustaining. And yeah, Neblime just basically a move to victory at that point.
Yep, that's a pretty safe assumption here. Now, Mask,
no sunken walls.
Oh, there you go. I am going to host a map. It is not our second map. It is our third map. That is because apparently we needed a video recording for map 2 in order to make it work out. So I have prepared that. Here I will start the screen share so you can also see what is going on. It will just be black at first, but I promise you it will get less
Oh,
diverse.
so this series
time
is
goes
even
on.
more confusing than just the timestamps being in another dimension.
Yes, yes. This is the only one we needed a video recording for, so the rest of them will return to our regularly scheduled programming. I believe there's audio for this one, unlike the last one, so I am going to go ahead and temporarily mute my audio from the game, and we will get right into things, ladies and gentlemen. We do indeed have some audio here. You can try your best to take a look at the fact that it's not quite the maximum quality on the scouting here, and I'm not sure we're going to get the color guessing done here, but this looks to me like Midnight Green Protoss from Neblime versus Red from Shambler. I don't know if Anozlix, who is the admin for this particular match, is ever going to actually check the player colors here for us, but if he does, somebody can point that out. Now, with them being in the top left and bottom right, Shambler is going to Cold Sweat, which is his map pick. He must have something planned. Any ideas on what that might be, Misk?
Maybe sweating coldly. Well, we have still what is amounting to a fairly standard build from him, so it really just could be a pathing thing. The Blime, I don't think is going to change too much. It's a standard build for a reason. It's because at least most of the Protoss I'm seeing are doing this pretty much the same thing. However, Neblime's playstyle shows that he's definitely prepared for this. He knows its strengths and weaknesses and knows how to deal with it. And that positioning is going to be what Shambler is going to have to deal with. If Shambler gets bottled up on the ramp again, I feel like he either has to go very defensive and just build a wall of circus like he used to in the past, or expand, or try something risky to deal with this, because it feels like trying to bust it and failing is just basically you lose the game at that stage. I really like how he just hates those scribes so much. You don't see a lot of worker tickling in the matches up to this point.
Yeah, I know.
Shambler is always happy to oblige.
Oh, hold on.
Oh, hold on. It's manner.
It has Shambler noticed is the question. We do have Legionnaires
manner.
coming out of the gateway here, so this could be a very quick match mess.
It's Neblime. Neblime has gone rancid.
Oh my
God. What are you doing?
No way. He's actually putting a warden down. The pool's not done. You got to pull the battle workers for this one, buddy. We got the gateways coming out. Oh my God. No, the warden might have to get canceled here, but the Legionnaire is going to get a lot of free hits off of this, already killing one. There's a cancel. And look, another warden starts a little bit further away. You can scale in. A second worker going down. It's mass death time. Still had enough minerals for that. The workers can start to drill on top of that Legionnaire. Oh my God. Neblime, a second warden warping in. He's got a second Legionnaire as well. The battle workers can't hold back this teleportation. That's 4 workers dead so far.
If you're Shambler, I think you go for his main at this point.
You might think about it, but instead he wants to kill that warden.
Wants to kill these wardens, but
that one doesn't get canceled. That's 150 minerals down the drain. Neblime not able to make it happen. Second warden now being in jeopardy, and it will end up dying with no cancellation. And the Legionnaires are going to be bopped backwards.
Neblime, his first cheese ever that I can recall. Maybe he did something equally. I think he may have done something against Jack. I can't remember, but against Shambler is just really funny.
Yes. And you know what? Those Zets are not wasting any time. They're doing exactly what you said. Well, they are wasting some time.
Caught up on the scribe!
Oh my God. Another worker dies back at home. This puts Shambler in a very all-in position. And that one scribe is Warcraft 3 body blocking the whole way with most of the Zets stuck on it. What is the response from Neblime? He's got a second gateway. He's got an Ecclesiast. He needs that warden to finish ASAP, but it's going to be so much longer. This looks real dangerous, but remember, with Ecclesiasts and battle workers, they can stay alive for a very long time.
I really like how he held off the Zats for an unnaturally long time, just by his scout returning to base. Oh,
the pylons. The pylons are being focused down. Can Neblime handle it? He's only got the 2 pylons. One of them does end up surviving. The battle workers, and that Ecclesia is taking a lot of damage. The second one has already popped up, and they're going to retreat back to the worker line. And oh my God, the warden finishes with power to boot. No way, the Zets are all dead.
Oh, the battle workers strike back.
Well, this game is within 5 workers on the count. Here comes some more Zets to try to make that number a little bit more favorable for Shambler. He's got a lot of Zethar cores moving around, and that one warden is so close, but it's got 9 kills. What is happening in this game?
The Neblime has awoken the Tism. Today, in the holy day of our Lord, The Australians have fought back.
Wait, no, that's the last
They have-
pylon. He's not going after the last pylon. No, he goes after the warden instead. But think about it. He could have disabled the production. Could have gone after more stuff. We got more and more Zets flooding in. Has Neblime
no.
bitten off too much cheese? The battle workers are biting. Remember, he's still ahead on 3 workers. Now 2. It is dropping. The Zealot is going to be nearly unkillable for these Zethra in this number.
You really wanted that pylon at last, but the Zealot chases them off.
Just
More of them are
non-stop
coming.
Zethra. There's nothing else being produced by Neblime. Shambler might take the game. Yeah, that's the dead pylon. Oh, no, he can't make any more units. GG is called. And that, my friends, is the end of the match. I honestly, I can't believe that's how it ends. I can't believe that's what happened in it.
That was beautiful.
That was really good. Okay, well, we have a series, ladies and gentlemen. I am a little bit...
Neblime got cheesy.
I'm a little bit shocked to see it. It is something that is kind of rare. He said he takes some offense to being referred to as someone who never cheeses, but that's okay. You know, he has
Well,
not
maybe
done
this
it.
is why he doesn't cheese.
Oh yeah,
I think that
is
if he had
true.
been like
That is
slightly further away with the initial warden, that it didn't get spotted right away, it might have been able to work out. Because then he could have just heckled with the Legionnaires, and then there would have been a slight delay in the response. But he was still really, really close.
Yeah, that was honestly, I was on a knife's edge for a long time. That was a great match of Cosmonarchy. That is not what we thought was going to happen. I just had to read a warning message very closely because I almost closed OBS by accident in the middle of the stream. That would have been bad. We are going to go to Blackwater Bastion for Game 3, and now we are guaranteed to see our 4th map as well, which is going to be Oblivion, which is Neblime territory. So I kind of feel like if Shambler doesn't win... I mean, he has won against Arbuz on Oblivion, to be fair. But if Shambler doesn't win
early,
Blackwater, then Neblime should surely be on lock for the set, right? Because at that point, he'll be 2-1. And Oblivion is Aussie territory. It's very similar to Australia with all the heat and stuff, so kind of makes sense. We are going to go to game number 3 here. A blistering speed for the first 2. And Neblime is in the top left as the Glacial Protoss, with the Shambler being in the top right as the Yellow Zerg. There you go. I got those colors right. I'm going to give myself points for the last game, too, because I guarantee you it was Midnight Blue. And I guarantee you it was red.
I don't believe you.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen.
I think that with the limited range, you would have been...
Yeah, I guess red could have been vivid
hoodwinked.
red. Those are very subtle differences, and it's hard to pick out. I just kind of guessed red because it was familiar. But... And Oz never checked, so we'll never know.
You can't have points for something that never got checked. And Oz has sabotaged you, stolen your points,
Because I would have gotten
and
those
used them
too.
to
Come on now.
purchase some dog bucks from the dog shop.
Man, I can't believe I have to add Explore Cosmonarchy on Reddit now to my fucking
I'm
press
sorry
release,
to hear
press
that.
kit. Now, Shambler's going to scout his opponent first, which is very nice for him. Neblime. Noticeably, Arbuz always pylon scouts his opponent, it seems like. At least he did that versus Zerg, and he did that versus Tyrant, so I assume he's also doing that versus Protoss. I can't quite recall based on the casts that you did. I wasn't really paying attention to the minimap always.
Yeah, I don't
in the early
remember.
game. But Neblime is going to go ahead and move out and scout his opponent first as well. So this is effectively a 2-spawn map now. And once again, Shambler not going for the 7 pool. Very interesting. He has not done that the entire series so far. We're now 3 games
Even though
in.
he just got cheese.
I know, yeah. But, you know, he might be
gotta
feeling
be cheesy
confident
guy.
about that. Like, oh, you're not going to try that Warden push again. Trying to embarrass me here just because you're up 1-0 in the set. Get sat down upon. And then he sat on him with Zeths. Just a pile of Zeths. Just sat.
You never know.
I still can't
Neblime
believe it.
might
He
just
never
pull
went
it
above
faster.
10 workers again. He just stayed at it. He didn't build a single extra worker. It was all Zeths all the time.
Yeah, that's pretty much all you need to do in that
Oh.
case, especially when you've killed military units over your opponent.
Well, the moving shot on the
Tickle, tickle,
worker,
tickle.
I like the idea, but Shambler, those could be mining. Looks like he's figured that out too.
Yeah, but I mean, what's more important? Establishing dominance or winning one match?
True.
Yeah, you bite him. Bite his ass. Bite
Gateway
his ass.
number 2 is on the way with the first Hierophant. I would kind of like to see Neblime try like a 6 Hierophant opener and just see how much he can make happen, because we know what he can do with 1 Hierophant. So if he goes like 3 gate, 3 Hierophants a pop, I don't think he's got enough Vespian to sustain that on one base, but still, it would be pretty cool.
Well, I've definitely seen the terrors he can inflict with 2 Hierophants.
Oh my god.
But Shambler is not going to deviate
I'm
from
wondering.
his holy path. No Gorga course.
Yeah, I've totally missed what happened to the Drolith Scout from Shambler. I guess it must have come back because
It came back.
Yeah, okay.
And chased the worker around some more.
Yeah.
They transitioned roles.
That makes sense.
Why can you see up this?
That's Brood War for you. You can kind of see up a cliff. But if he moved back, if he had moved like one like Zethrakor space back, he wouldn't have been able to see. You can kind of like see up the top of ledges sometimes. Like he couldn't see this, but he could see that. Yes, he has to go up the ramp. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Seeing up cliffs? Dude, he's hacking Haxor. Now Shambler is typing though. Oh my god, attack speed boost! But the burrow just disrupts them. Ends up burning most of it. Shambler, pay attention. Shambler. All right, there you go. Starting to bite, starting to nibble. Trying to focus on one of them, but that one gets seen out. You've only got a couple of Zats. What else is happening over here? Another Larvosk on the way with a lot more Zats. Trying to go after a surround. The attack speed increase really going to help out in this skirmish. You can see, you were talking about 2 Hierophants. Mesk.
Yeah.
Are you a prophet?
This is what I mean. This is what we saw against Jag. Is when you only have a small number of Zats, the Hierophants can just run circles around them constantly because you don't do enough damage to go through their flash shielding. But Shambler's trying to counter this with burrowing. He just has to not give in to chasing them down the ramp.
Yeah.
As long as he keeps them down the ramp.
There's a pause. Classic move. Or is there?
He needed to pause because he had to go like scream at something. Oh. I got told off.
I'm glad this amount of chat didn't break a replay because that was pretty close.
I was just thinking, the replay didn't crash.
Yeah. Sometimes it can also, if you type just enough to make it have a problem, but not enough to make it crash, it'll just break the it'll desync the replay. But I would have been told in advance if that was the case. So.
There is a vassal.
MB,
There's an idol.
X2.
X2. That's not quite XD.
I wonder if he like accidentally paused the game again, just so that he could say that he paused the first time. A lot of minerals just got spent on Vorvs. 14 of them, to be precise. So I guess Shambler's back to relying on Neblime moving out, and this map is a little bit more favorable for surrounds. You can kind of like camp the cliff. Again, that Vassal is going to be able to come on in, but there's a Spraith on the way, so I guess that's going to be what he relies on. He's making 2 pairs of Naths. It's kind of interesting.
He may want to scout with a Naths as opposed to trying to dive into the ramp, but his units are moving out nonetheless. The Zats attempt to destroy the Vassal, but the Naths ignore them.
Yeah, that's like respond to air with ground and vice versa.
All over the place.
All right, let's see what if Neblime can steady himself here. Now Shambler going to test the ramp, but as soon as he sees all that, he's going to fall on back.
Yeah,
can't really force the issue.
Same interaction as the first game.
Yeah, what Shambler wants to be able to do here is like force his opponent to kind of stay on one base or be contained or whatever, and then see if he can like maybe secure a nice economic advantage, get up to a fast tier 2. That sort of thing. I think that's what Shambler's game plan is in here, because when the Protoss just stops moving out, then it becomes a lot harder to make things happen. But as of right now, we can see Shambler prepping his burrow area. If people are wondering why he keeps like burrowing and unburrowing in a weird sort of orientation, it's because when you unburrow units that are stacked, they will decollide, and then you can burrow them again in purely legal positions, and then it helps you avoid any shenanigans that could come of the cost of like your units decolliding and getting caught when they're supposed to be engaging. Now, Neblime's going to charge in here and just kill 1 Droleth, but has to be careful of the Spraith. Now the Vassals are in danger because the Naths are on their way. But they miss each other.
Nah, they pass each other. Neblime is just kind of ignoring them. They did a little bit of scouting, but there's already 2 Wardens up in the base, so he doesn't have anything to worry about. He does timidly exit his ramp so he can start a base. Shambler having yet to start his.
Yeah, he's making
Naths
quasis.
And the Vassals sense each other's presence, but the Vassal count is increasing.
You know, it doesn't look like a lot of military, but I swear, Shambler does have a lot, and Neblime does have to watch out for that. So as long as he stays kind of put over here, he is exerting some control with the Vassals, so yeah, the Quasilisks will be able to push him out.
Additional Naths are en route. This is similar to what he's done before. is build up the big stack. But unfortunately, this is where the idols are actually very good.
Oh, he's pulling the trigger.
Easily destroy those nabs.
Yeah, Shambler's going to charge in and try to go for a Gigas around. He's kind of working it out so far, but remember, the Nathricors are not here yet, and the idols have been able to deal with a lot of those stacked units. That was a crippling error from Shambler. He's absolutely fumbled that attack. I don't know what he was seeing over there, but okay. He just
The replay has finished.
So we must have used Shambler's replay for that one, and he left with no GG. Okay, got it. All right, well, I was going to say, I would expect him to GG, but then I remembered it's Shambler. So that is a very sudden loss there for our Zerg player. I'm not sure what pulled him in to make him think that he could take that fight, but the Ecclesiasts were spread out nicely. Neblime had it either incidentally or not. We know that he's pretty careful with his army positioning, but it looked like he was starting to move down a little bit to take those positions. He had put up the gateway. He had put up the Nexus, obviously. It felt like that position was really hard to assail with only Zets and Vorvs, but Shambler saw something over there.
He didn't wait for his Nath stack like he did in the other game. He just kind of was like, oh my god, there's an Australian. I must devour him before the emus do. Meanwhile, Neblime just has a sensible chuckle and moves on.
Yeah. Basically.
Now, we're on to the battlefield of the plants.
That is correct.
Which is why it's a desert, because they've all killed each other, so the biome has been annihilated.
Yeah. It was a starvation, the hunger for resources, warring factions, etc., etc.
No oxygen, no life. Just death and kangaroos. Roaming the countryside in war bands.
Wow, this could be the last time we see Shambler in the whole tournament. That wouldn't be much of a Tyrant's tale. We saw that he was able to respond to the cheese, but so far, he needs to show us that he can 7-pool, that he can make his dreams become memes and his memes become victory. Oblivion stands before him. Will he become Veek and also be eliminated, or will he not become Veek and win? The answer is before us with Neblime as the glacial. No, wait. Alice Blue Protoss. Yes! In the top left. And Shambler is the red. Yes. Zerg in the bottom right. Hell yeah, brothers! Shambler loses, but I stay winning. Let's see if Shambler can also stay winning, because he is already harvesting Vespene, so this is not a 7-pool. God damn it, Shambler. Why would you... I hyped you up. I hyped you up and everything as the 7-pooler. GL don't have.
He needs to go like proxy hatch his opponent.
I did do that to XD Man once. I scholared him. I did it to him twice. The first time worked. He was so fucking confused. But then I did it right afterwards, the second one, and it was. He did respond. He did figure it out. Same map too. Worked out. Axiom, back in the Axiom days. Shout out to Scholar, Nicholas, XD Man. Oh my god, got him. And Ozlex had to ref the Hit 'em Up Shambler series, so I wonder if he was just tired of Shambler typing. Let's see what an Ozlex's response to that
He could just say there is now.
Yeah, he is the ref. I like to imagine he just alt-tabbed to check the rule book and then was like, oh shit, there isn't one. Well, Neblime just doesn't respond to typing, so.
Nah, he responds to tickling.
That's right. He was tickling the Larvosk a little bit there. That's about it. Gateway nearly complete. This is pretty good timing, though, for the Larvosk. He's going to grab the pool right after, so. It is working out okay here for Shambler so far. Since there's actually no Hierophant this time around. Not enough Vespene early enough. So Neblime, not as optimized on the build as maybe the last times. Maybe something about the mining optimization.
Yeah, it's done a lot of damage to that Larvosk.
Yeah, dude, 40.
It was over 40. It was like 50.
Oh, shit. Look, he's doing it again.
Especially when you consider the armor.
Dude, what if I mean, he's tied up these two workers for a long time. That's actually a lot of lost mining time. I feel like the worker with the flash shielding could actually start harassing us. If Flash played this game, dude, he would love flash shielding. It's in his fucking name.
I'm telling you, like, 2 workers can cause a lot of damage if you've got the god tier reflexes to multitask while you're doing this. Because, I mean, 1 worker has caused, in total, probably like 100 points of damage to this thing.
Yeah, 86
and
so far.
If you had 2 of them for more consistent damage,
yeah, stop the
I'm counting the regeneration and the armor, so it's a lot.
Yeah,
it's a lot for 1 worker to be doing. If you had 2 workers on it, I'm telling you, you'd have to be multitasking. Like, you're gonna get your APM tied up in this, so most people probably wouldn't be able to do it very well. But
Right.
it's only got 240 health. You could just get it low and pick it off with a Legionnaire.
Now Shambler doesn't know it, but if he just moved
it may
across
not
the
do
map,
anything, but it would be so annoying.
Yep. I think if Shambler moved across the map with these 8 Zets, he could just like end Neblime's career and at the very least cause flummoxing.
I think he would definitely cause some headaches because he could potentially, if he killed the Hierophant, the early Hierophant, then yeah, he might catch it here. Oh.
Neblime realized.
Oh.
Neblime faster on the pump. Okay. Do you dare? Of course you do.
The tickling begins.
Okay. Tactical burrow.
You thought it was surround, but it was me, Dio. And Neblime's like, okay, wiggle, wiggle.
Wiggle, wiggle.
Wiggle, wiggle. Here we go.
As fast as Orc is, no other military in production. Shambler, do you remember what happened to the Hierophants the last time? Good initial isolation, but you can't count Neblime out. And look at that! The worker movement! It's not there for Shambler. The dancing has not happened. I like Neblime preempting it, but then Shambler just doesn't do anything. He's trying. He's making 1 pair of Zets behind this. A single vassal on the way. Zork is not even halfway done. My man, we need to see some more military out of you. Remember, this is elimination point.
It's okay. Neblime has no idea that Shambler is about to build like 30 Gorga cores.
Dude, he could finally do it. He could do his Gorga core move. Do the
It
move.
can finally be the age of the Gorga core once again.
Do the move, Shambler. Make 4 Gorga cores. Somehow get them into your enemy's natural / mineral line in the main and win. You just win the game.
Well, you say that. But Neblime's probably not going to make another Warden in his base for a little while. Oh, never mind. He proved me wrong. Oh, I mean, 1 Warden is still, like, if you actually had 4...
Well, it's in the mineral line.
You
You just attack the Warden and kill all the workers, so...
Yeah.
Pretty good.
But unfortunately, he does already have idols again, so error against this doesn't really work that well.
Yeah, Gorgs are much better versus idols than the other options, but when the idols get to a good enough number, they will start to penetrate that.
It's like if you're stacking on top of the Warden, they're just going to be
Yeah.
splashing you too, and you're going to start losing them by the time you start really mincing down workers, so...
Yeah.
You end up trading in a really weird way, but he's actually gone for Zoryus.
Yes, he had a lot of
So he
minerals.
wants some more beef.
Well, over enough time, they... Yeah, this is why you clear your burrows first, boys. Wiggle? All right. Okay. Good. Very good moves. Great dancing.
Relief. Precious relief.
Embassy nearly complete here for Neblime, sticking out on 1 base so far.
The Vassal may have scouted secret Zeths, but now it's going to scout secret Zoryus. Oh, tickle, tickle, tickle. Tickle,
4
tickle.
HP. No moving shots
Escapes.
means no vassal death.
Now, there is a counter to this, which is the Golem, which restores shields of units. And I've seen Golems versus Zoryus in the past. It has led to basically immortal Protoss armies.
Yep.
So, yeah, got to be mindful of that. Plus, this ramp, well, we just saw Shambler try to navigate 1 ramp, and that was not while being shot at. So, this could be a tremendous clusterfuck if he actually tries to ball bust this.
Yeah, he just doesn't have anything. He didn't make any Lakes with the army, right? So he doesn't really have the option. Oh my god, a Manor Pylon.
He's not even going to know.
He'll see it, but he's not going to attack
He's got
it.
double
All right.
sprays, just in case.
Shambler's trying. He's going to lose his Zoryus for his efforts. Not ideal. Gets a couple
This
of
interaction has now happened 3 games in a row. Oh, but
But look at this. I've
he's
got a
being
witness.
peeked on.
Don't worry. The
You may
Riddler
not know he
Road
has a witness, but he's being peeked on. Oh,
Riddler
the
Road Court can't
Golem
burrow.
inches forward with its epic AAA walk cycle.
That's right.
That's what they mean when they talk about AAA. They talk about that Golem walk cycle.
Let's
Almost
see it
as
again.
good as the old manifolds.
Neblime, let's see it again. Move that golem. He's not. He won't do it. He's just tickling him with...
Oh, shit. He made...
Yeah.
Man.
All right, there he goes.
Oh, okay. Tickling continues. Oh, Shambler is like, fuck it. I'm going in. Nope. No, I don't want to go in. Fuck. Shit. Fuck. Shit. Fuck. Ass. Fuck. Okay, bye.
All right, well, he couldn't take his natural because of the pylon. That's being dealt with.
So he took the
takes
third. May as well.
This is like Starcraft 2, but 7 minutes in the game instead of 1.
No, Shambler this time is not going to take the bait.
9 o'clock.
There is an artisan. It is now harvesting gas from the middle of nowhere. And they teleport gas now. They unfortunately do not build engrams at an increased rate. Otherwise, I'd be waiting for Neblime to do something that I've done a few times. which is just gradually crawling engrams across the map. An unusual place. He could have put it in the other expansion, but I guess he just has it over here just to streamer bait, really.
You know, Shambler sent his workers out a little bit too early. He doesn't have any defense at that third. He's burrowed across the main, but obviously the witness was there. The witness was there. No! So, you know, this is the opportunity. Shambler will finally get a fight that isn't right up against a cliff. So there is something to be said there. The vassals are tickling back at the Shambler base. These golems haven't really been able to really strut their stuff just yet. Hidebreaker helping out massively with those Vors, but there is not much of a front line left. Zorius helping to close the gap. He's picking a couple of units left over. Workers are being revealed by that witness. Natural being taken by Shambler. He will end up losing those workers. He's got 4 Lakes back at home.
Oh, they're tickling.
I'm not really sure how Shambler didn't lose everything yet, but it's kind of impressive.
They moved back into his base, and yeah. They were just kind of sitting there idle at the expansion for a while. One was attacking the hatch. But
okay, gotcha.
The workers had left, so...
Yeah, they went back to return because they were sent too early. It was actually Gigabrain.
Yeah. Yep. Neblime is thinking 8 steps ahead, but Shambler is thinking U steps ahead.
Dude, I wonder what Neblime's mentality was in this series, like, because he's done such weird things that we don't really see him do with just
triple matrix makes its appearance at long last.
There it is. Okay, but like the fast double rogue, he's going for charlatans, and he's going to make some Dracodons out of the. Okay, like his comp is just a bit strange, but so is Shambler's. Like, it's just very this game is just very confusing, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's very, very bizarre. I don't know what happened to the witness. It may have died to the Ovalith.
Well, 2 vassals died to the Ovalith.
Classic move.
Shambler is definitely banking up for that tier 2.
By the way, the Irolith does have an attack animation, so I could turn it into a melee attacker. I was thinking the Ovalith should bite.
The combat transport that nibbles and drops circuits into your base.
15 workers being made a pop here for Shambler, but his army is not going to be able to hold up to too much scrutiny if Neblime keeps on scaling up.
There's a couple of Lakizilisks in here, but he already has detection, so that's not really too much of an issue for him. But all Neblime really has to do is do the Arbuz thing and just kind of ignore this entirely.
Yeah.
But he is a little concerned it could charge for his base. That's why he has the 3 matrices up. But really, Neblime doesn't have to advance right now. He has to know that Shambler is just going to go straight to tier 2. But I don't think he's really too worried about that.
Worker counts are favoring Shambler, and he has put his Iris down. So we are going to get a macro game out of the set.
Unusual.
Yes, very unusual. Avaleth not here on the front line.
It took us like 6 matches?
From Shambler, yeah. Well,
yeah.
I guess the Void one was technically a macro game, but only because
the Void one was technically one, but we didn't get it, so it doesn't exist.
Yeah. It was also
a Stargate coming
Atlas,
and another Stargate. I'm going to go on a limb and say it's probably going to be Gladiuses again. Neblime seems to like the Gladiuses, even though they are pretty fragile. Shambler doesn't have an easy way to get rid of them at the moment, so mass quasis can kill them, but you have to get under them, and he's got, well, more than enough of ground army to deny them access. There's a handful of Kabbalists moving out, taking a page from the Arbuz book here.
I love Kabbalists, honestly. Like they kind of flew under the radar, really but they are such an APM tax for your opponent.
Yeah.
Iris finished
they're
straight
really
to Mutath.
They still do a fuck ton of damage. They're still really good at killing workers. The cloaking mechanism keeps them pretty solid in actual combat. But you don't usually get them because they are a little expensive, and most people will have detection, and a lot of defense. But
pay attention to
this.
this.
Doesn't have either of those.
The Kabbalists are in the mineral lines right now as we speak, and Neblime moving forward attacks the APM of his opponent by attacking the military a little bit. Is pretty good. Now the worker drills onto that Kabbalist in the mineral line of the main, does end up killing it. It looks like the same thing happened over in the natural, but still, he picks some of the army.
He's able to circuits here, but they're too far away.
Oh no, that's where the secondary Kabbalist went. It's picked 3 workers so far.
Yeah, it left the Nat, and now it's in the 3rd.
Well, he's going to end up trying to see if he can get out of there. There we go. When they cloak, they're able to teleport like Legionnaires do, but without having to hit the target first.
Shambler could almost body block that in there, but he spotted it a little too late.
Yeah, where's that Ovaleth? Needs to come in away. It's just kind of standing guard at the entrance.
All the workers have left the main.
Oh.
And now they're coming back into the main.
That's weird.
Shambler had an oopsie moment.
Yeah, again, we talk about APM tax. He's still getting a couple of kills in here. It's not super
this,
significant. Like, the lost mining time of moving the workers away is actually more significant, in my book, of a mining tax. Nice Quasi sat there at 12 o'clock. That's going to force Neblime to invest a little bit more into clearing that.
There are just so many workers going back and forth between the third and the main.
This unit is still at large. Kills. What the hell's going on? 5 Protathlors being made. Another worker dies.
8 kills.
What's he going to do?
9
Is Quasi
kills.
moving around?
Why has Shambler not brought units over to kill this unit yet?
He hasn't made any combat units in a while.
Why hasn't he made a circuit? Why hasn't he done like... Okay, now this unit's attacking it because he's idle.
Yeah, he's right next to the Iris.
Yeah. From the tech building. It's only because of this idle unit that Shambler kills him. Okay, he spotted him at the end, but he could have gotten away if he had reflexed to that at that point. But it was because of the idle potato that he ended up doing that much damage.
That was so silly. 4th base coming up on around 9 o'clock here for Neblime. I guess that's a 10 o'clock spawn. He didn't take 12, even though he could have. That was the Hobbs, I'm pretty sure.
The ref?
Okay. Yeah, that's the ref. Yep, so that's what ended up happening. Yeah, so this replay was given from somebody else, so yeah, they figured it out. Don't worry. Woot7 is in the chat asking about notifications. In Cosmonarchy, we changed it so that taking fatal damage does actually still send a notification. I can't believe they're doing this. Is so silly. Yeah, for those who don't know, your ID is always 0 or 1 when you are a player. So, R0. I agree, Shambler. Spend that money, bro. They figured it out eventually. These artisans are constantly giving a little bit of extra Vespine. So Neblime's actually on 5 gas income right now. Pretty legit. Pretty awesome. Also, another point about the Kabbalist versus Droleth interaction there, talking about like instant kills. The Kabbalist does not one-shot Droleths the way that Dark Templar one-shot drones. So, okay, they ended up having to pause. Now, Shambler's going to move in here and see if he can go in for the kill on this move. He has a lot of Protathlors, but his army is very split right now. Oh, he's got some front line here. Remember those Gladius you were talking about earlier? There are so many of them. And what is the anti-air?
There is 11 Gladiuses!
Yes.
They have armor penetration from the Vargas. Oh, no.
Yeah, that's a full wipe. I mean, he's got some more units coming in from the bottom, but he just has no anti-air with this army. Shambler starting to make some Lyrilisks out of those Quasis. That's a good choice. But you need like 20, 30 of them? At least 2x the Gladius count.
They have armor penetration.
Yeah, the Vargas.
They're killing everything. Oh, the balls are on the chin. It's okay. Those Quasis inside the anchor will keep him safe.
Let's see what he can do. He's got a couple Quasis.
Yeah. Or anything to deal with this.
Yeah, he's like looking around. I mean, he has the Lyrilisks are pretty damn good. You just need a lot of them, and you need open terrain to actually fight. Nice witness over here as well. Going to reveal the situation here for Neblime. He's going to clear these Lakes. His ground army can move up, but instead he's actually wrapping his ground army off to the side. He's going to stab in to deal with the very small amounts of Guardians over there at the bottom right area. And I'm not talking about the unit.
Very efficient trades from Neblime as this ground army comes down here. There are some Lyrilisks down here to put some initial damage on the Charlatans, but there's so many units.
Oh, one of them did end up going down, actually, so that's pretty good.
Yep.
You know, cost efficiency
wasn't really extensively saturated, so it's not a tremendous loss, but it does slow down Shambler, who is like nearly 50 workers down.
Yes. Yeah, the Protoss War Machine is definitely in full swing here. And Shambler is stuck on 3 bases for now. He is setting up a base at 6 o'clock. Lyrilusk in the anchor, not something you see every day, but he is doing his best to shoot out of it. These neutral anchors you can garrison here, but they have been mostly eliminated by Neblime as he tries to take control of the middle. Not very many Lyrilusks over here. He pinched off most of his army
down
the right
Vargas.
side.
That's a good choice.
Yep, gas intensive for sure.
A little bit of damage on here. A couple of the Gladiuses do go down.
Again, you're seeing the value of the Lyrilisks as they try to charge on forward, but I don't know what happened there. He kind of misclicked on the attack. He needs to maybe split them a little bit so that the Exemplars aren't dealing splash damage to them.
Still, he thinned out a lot of those Gladiuses. the bulk of his army, the more important one, is coming up to the top.
Yeah, no static defense up here for Neblime yet, so his 12 o'clock base, which was placed off-center, by the way, is indeed going to be in danger. And the Protaflors are really going to shine here, because you can't really kite those.
Yep. There is an engram being built, but it's a long way off, and it's not going to stop this many Zerg.
Not too many Zerg here.
Cancel. Never mind.
So one thing that's going to struggle for Shambler here, as he's making Mutalisks, not necessarily a terrible choice for some cross-map harassment, the Lyrilisks need open engagements to deal with the Gladiuses, but the Golems have come in to prevent any sort of egress here for Shambler. He's not going to be able to go out. He has committed this force in, and he's not going to be able to get that Nexus.
Dude, one of the battle workers killed a Quasi.
I believe it.
Well, that Nexus is saved.
Oh, yeah, he's got an Empress mixed in here. He's got some very late-game tech going on here for Neblime. The Synthetic Synod making Empresses. 3 Stargate Exemplar is what's being produced right now. Sure, the Mutas are out.
Is a new one, but he needs a front line. He may as well make it out of Zerg.
That's right. Going to charge forward and clear some of these bar guests, but remember, the bouncing of the Gladiuses is absolutely criminal. It kills one anyway. Locked on. All right, now this is where the Exemplars can get sniped if they're not careful. Neblime has to fall on back. He is doing a secondary attack at the same time, but the couple of circuits over there are going to be okay for defense. The Lyrilisks need to charge forward so that they can actually bounce, and so that they're not being sort of heckled by the Empresses.
Yeah, random zombie units are pulling attacks off of the front, but eventually kills all the Gladiuses. That's a lot of pressure gone when Empress goes down. He's focusing the next one.
Okay.
These are very expensive units, by the way.
Yes, they are. And, you know, the Lyrilisks were also kind of clumped up, so they didn't do as efficiently versus the Exemplars we would have liked to see. Some Lakers are over here, but no focus fire meant that those Golems stayed alive for a lot longer than they would have otherwise. A little bit of worker harassment. The gas workers did take a beating there. Shambler's going to have to restaff them. He's down by almost 60 workers, and Neblime continues to benefit from those couple of units he's dotted around the map. The Artisans continuing to give him that extra bit of Vespene. That's what's allowing him to afford the units out of the Synthetic Synod. Now it's switching over to Demiurge. I think Neblime wants to just maybe make a frontal push. Shambler's stuck on Tier 2 tech for the foreseeable future. Has not capped any gas.
Yep. No gas cap. His minerals are pretty low too, though. It's Neblime who's starting to float a lot of minerals. We're starting to see a lot of those more mineral-based units, but they're getting kind of picked up here in these little scrappy battles that are killing Lyrilisks, which are more valuable for Shambler than these units are for Neblime.
Yeah, the Golems just weren't being focused down, so the bouncing, we're just restoring each other's shields for most of that time. Now we're starting to get to those damage concentrations where that's no longer going to be a concern for the Zerg army, but he does need to charge up here. The static defense not actually warped in yet. There is an opening for Shambler to stab in over there as his quasi-stack moves over to the left-hand side of the map.
Yeah, that's where he is going to discover that there's 3 engrams and 2 matrices waiting for him if he actually goes up there. He might even encounter the Artisans if he follows the scribe.
Yep, looks like he will, but I'm not sure he's paying attention right now. He's instead trying to shark around to the left-hand side. Most of the static defense by the ramp. He's going to neutralize the range advantage and charge forward to just clean up these Wardens. If he falls back now, he can just clean up those scribes for free. Instead, he has killed those Artisans. Very good stuff, but 6 o'clock is completely wiped off the map. The air army for the Protoss is going to go ahead and take temporary control of that hatch. There's not really any combat units here for Shambler.
There's nothing over there.
Yeah, what's he going to do?
He's got some Lyrilisks in his third, but I don't think that's enough to stop the giant mass of vassals and their supports.
Yeah, he only ended up making Tier 1 anti-air defenses, and only a couple of them, too. So he does not have the advanced defenses that we normally come to see when you're trying to deal with this kind of army. Yeah, it looks like Shambler is just going to get cleaned up over here. He was able to do a lot of damage to things like the Demiurge. It's actually been held at bay a little bit over to the side. He's cleared out the 12 o'clock, but losing the natural... Yeah, losing the natural is a step too far. I think Shambler's about to be eliminated here.
Maybe he'll start hiding hatcheries everywhere.
That would be Shambler.
Wiggling aggressively. One Demiurge is almost goes down there.
Yeah, it almost isn't good enough. It will end up going down. Okay, but now the main is being aggressed upon. He can no longer make any Lyrilisks. And yeah, Shambler was saying he's got the Demiurge. You have to surrender. Well, he's got his Quaseth pool. How about that? He's going to take his Iral Iris.
No, not the Quaseth.
You got annihilated. You had a Canada moment.
It wouldn't be a match setup without a Canada moment.
I think that was I don't know what happened there, but that was fine. You know, we're still fine. Kill hit him up. That's what Shambler says. All right. A little bit of typing at the very end. Never hurt nobody. A Shambler will be eliminated from the double elimination side. And Ozlik saying what we're all thinking. What?
He may be ass.
What?
But you're a straight ass.
Yeah,
He's gay ass.
He gay ass. There you go. Neblime crowned as gay ass as he takes the victory from the Shambler. There will be no more Zerg in the tournament. It's all Protoss and Terran from here on out as Neblime sets up that rematch we were talking about at Mask. ArbuzBudesh versus Neblime. They have played like 4 or 5 hours against each other in the last week. Like, this is going to be a series that has everything riding on it. If we could easily see, I feel like, a 5-game set back and forth out of that, because you were telling me that they were pretty competitive. And I will give Shambler a little bit of credit as he bows out here. He is out of contention for the Tyrant's tail, but I gotta say that macro game was despite the fact that I looked at it and I thought this is such a weird composition, what is Shambler going to do? He was able to kind of extend play a little bit there. And furthermore, his response to the cheese, that was pretty cool. It's cool to see Shambler at least get on the board and make some things happen. Unfortunately for him, his run ends here, and Neblime moves further on.
Yep. Shambler did not cheese every match.
Yeah,
while
surprising.
astonishing, he did put up a good fight. He got a lot of mileage out of Leerless, despite being so far behind economically. He was able to destroy one of the air stacks and put damage elsewhere on the map.
Yes.
So it wasn't completely one-sided.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting a worse showing since that was played on the same day as his hit 'em up set, which was not. It was a little unbecoming of Shambler. Bad timing, perhaps, but it looks like he was able to rally for a better show of strength going into this matchup. Sadly, he has been eliminated after doing so well versus Arbuz, but I guess Neblime knows just not to move out against that sort of thing.
Yep.
Once again, Arbuz kind of showing how you defeat it, even though he wasn't able to execute it himself. So looking at it from that perspective, I gotta say, I'm not exactly super surprised about this outcome. I did say Neblime was kind of not a heavy favorite, but a reasonable favorite in this matchup. And I would say he would even be a slight favorite, even if the conditions weren't that Shambler was already, reeling from the sting.
Next.
Yeah, that that hit him up ended up giving him there.
Tilt max skibbity.
There it is. So that does leave us with a lower bracket that looks like so. We see here that Elimination 2A and 2B have been played. We know the results. Somehow Mystery Meat was not able to make it past Arbuz. It's been a Protoss victory day. Don't tell Alexander, he'll be very sad. As Arbuz and Neblime are reeling, tell Arbuz about this, he'll be very happy because in PvP, P must lose. So if you just ignore the fact that Protoss has to win that match, it'll be fine. This will determine who faces off against the loser of our upper final, which is, of course, to be decided pretty shortly as well. For our next stream, we will be doing Elimination 3 as well as the upper final. Hit 'em up versus Top Ramen, TVT, and then PvP. It's the session of mirrors, Mask. That's what we're going to be walking into.
Dude, all these practice partners are now going to have to fight each other for real. If they've been hiding any sneaky cheese or bullshit, we'll finally see it.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, the fact is that Hit 'em up has looked really, really good as a Terran, but specifically in TVT, he has not been tested yet in the tournament. And even though he's played a lot against Top Ramen specifically, Ramen has exclusively played TVT in the tournament. He beat Hamster in a 5-game set, Mystery Meat in a 4-game set. Those were some pretty tough cookies to go up against, particularly the Hamster aggressive style versus what Ramen was trying to do with the Quarry First. I don't know if he's going to try that versus Hit 'em up. Hit 'em up is a very, I would say a technical player in the terms of his ability to execute mechanically. He's a very mechanically sound player. You'll probably never see him make the whiffs that we saw out of Mystery Meat in Game 5, for example, against Arbuz. I would say that he's pretty good at the micro stuff. His macro is also just the mechanical side of him just slamming out units. He can make inefficient comps work, comps that are inefficient on paper, just because he's got 2x more units, or at least 1.5x more units than the average person trying those comps. That gap can be that large in some cases. So Hit 'em up, I mean, I seeded him first in the tournament for a reason. I'd say he's the favorite to win. The only match he's dropped so far was a 7-pool from Veek, and that was the very first match of the whole tournament. So ever since then, he has been undefeated, 3-0 Shambler, and now he's going to be having an opportunity to go up against really what I would say his first real test so far will be on paper. If he's able to do it really, really well here, he is the favorite, maybe even the heavy favorite. Ramen has a puncher's chance for sure. He's a strong player, especially in the macro department. But if Hit 'em up looks flawless going into this series, dude, who's going to step to him at all? It'll have to be Neblime or somebody.
Yep, it'll have to be Neblime. He's going to have to to put this man down, he's going to have to hit him up and then hit him down.
That's right. That's right.
It'll have to be Shambler in that case.
Yeah, Shambler will have to come back, replace Neblime as a sudden substitution after Neblime makes an epic run to the finals. Now, that's assuming Neblime can make it past Arbuz, right? Like, Arbuz has been looking pretty good. For him to take down Meat is a bit of a shocker. Now, going into a mirror matchup, neither of these guys have played PvP in the tournament so far. I was about to say Neblime played it against Hamster, but no, Hamster's Tyrant. I have to remind myself of that constantly. So Neblime hasn't played against Protoss so far in the tourney. He's played against Tyrant from Meat, Tyrant from Hamster, and now Zerg from Shambler. So if we're just basing it off of that, basing it off of ranked results so far, Neblime looks good so far out in the tournament. Losing to Mystery Meat is no... It's a sour pill for him because there is a little bit of rivalry dating back way long. And Neblime was even quoted as, "I'm just keeping the seat warm. Mystery Meat will be coming back for the throne very soon." And so the fact that Mystery Meat defeats him in the opening match that those two had was really, really quite something. But, Arbuz stuffing him here does serve Neblime up. He should once again be the advantaged player, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. It'll be definitely an interesting matchup. This will be all the training and the preparation, and now will the student defeat Senpai and become the ultimate dojo master, or will Senpai reveal that he was hiding back his power level all along? That's what both of these matches really say to me, honestly, because when I was watching, I saw a stream from Hit 'em Up and Ramen before, and Hit 'em Up was doing pretty well, so it's there's some overdog interactions of both of these. Maybe it'll come out that both the students will defeat their masters and then have to fight each other. And then by proxy, they're representing their masters. I'd say Ramen has definitely come a long way, though. Like his performance was really strong in some of these. There was definitely some like unit control issues or whatever, but his macro was like tightening up. He was definitely looking very formidable. And Arbuz winning against Mystery Meat was not something I would have called. I figured he might take like a match or two off of him, but I don't think he was going to take the entire series, and some of it really quite convincingly too.
Yeah, I have to agree with that one. I would say looking at the way that the bracket has borne out from both the upper and lower side, if Top Ramen can't make it past Hit 'em Up, he stands a pretty strong chance of being able to make it to the Grand Finals and set us up for a TVT Grand Finals. You know what I'm saying? So, yep. I mean, minimum, he will finish as the third best player in the tournament. He's locked that in for himself already. The only real question for me is if he looks good versus Hit 'em Up, like if we can think of it like... okay, he can power up Karate Kid style. I see Hit 'em Up saying that in the chat already. Like, if he can power up, okay, I suffered the first loss versus Hit 'em Up initially, but then he can come back in. That's exactly what happened with Mystery Meat, funnily enough, where it was a 5-game set that Neblime reverse swept, and the Mystery Meat came up from the lower bracket and 3-0'd him. So it was pretty surprising. We could have something like that come up here, but Top Ramen is not the favorite in that set. So I'm very interested in seeing how that match ends up taking shape. And I figure since your D&D game is Wednesday, I believe, Mesk, how about Thursday for when we cast the upper final and the third elimination match?
Should be good. Again, usually I'm free. It's just a matter of me being awake and other stuff not coming up. So.
Well, hopefully maybe we can do the same time, because I'm thinking if it's 3 p.m. your time, then people on my side of the coast will actually be getting in from work a little bit before then. We can get some, everybody nice time for everybody to be able to tune in. So something like that could end up working out. So maybe we'll do that around the same time as we started today's stream. That pretty much does it, though, for us. I mean, that's concluding the very exciting, very interesting set of matches that we had today. I'd say even that last match between Neblime and Shambler, the last game, was pretty cool, pretty back and forth, even though it was a very non-standard opening. And obviously, I think all of Arbuz versus Mystery Meat, with obviously the exception of the first game, which ended perhaps a bit anticlimactically, but everything else was really good. So we got some very nice games out of today, and some stuff that I will certainly be remembering. So I'll turn the floor over to you, sir. Iskatu, do you have closing thoughts for us?
I have to wonder if weed is super popular in Australia, or if they figured out some secret jungle ganja. Maybe they just infiltrate Ruse society and learn what makes them so beefy, and they smoke that instead. But in any event, smoke weed every day.
Smoke weed every day. That's the way that Mesk likes to roll. We'll see you guys very soon for even more Cosmonarchy.